lineage of E-Star. OMG in the long lineage of OMG since 2013. Let's get on to the rifts and hear the gyos for these bottom two teams fighting for survival. Into level 1 here, the 2v2 starting off strong for Photic and Moam here actually. Ultra Prime fighting back as best they can, but you don't beat the Yunara Lulu, especially once the Yunara gets that Q stacked up. They're going to get the double bounce there for a little bit of damage back, but what the hell? That is some double audio. That is very much some double audio. What the heck is happening there? I'm actually going to go refresh the feed. It is just on the clean feed. Okay. Some audio problems there on their end, I suppose. Wow, okay. Another bit of CC, a bit of damage lands, although Henna's actually trading back very well. Vertical will go down for first blood. The Gatling gun shreds the resist, and OMG split their damage too much. What started as such a good 2v2 for OMG ends up being first blood to Ultra Prime as, I mean, Photic and Moham, you know, they're players who've done quite well on teams in the past. In the last year or two, they've actually had to cut the games down because of issues to, as you could hear that Corky, you could hear like the replay pretty much of the audio from the level 1. There we go. It's there. But yeah, Henna, first blood for the Corky. OMG struggling a little bit here in the early levels, which is not good for them. Of course, OMG, they're a team which is drafted well, as we've said, not necessarily had the power to play out those drafts. And I think one of the other things we'll talk about this team in terms of gameplay is that they are very predicated on ReZero kind of leading the charge and getting an early lead. One of the biggest changes which happened to OMG as they escaped bottom to last playoffs, beating LGD to that, in fact, by beating them in their head-to-head, was that ReZero came in for Juhan, who was playing for OMG beforehand. And he came in and he was a real breath of fresh air. Very, very creative, very aggressive, and OMG could follow his lead. Now, the problem is, if you're losing lanes before ReZero has even had a chance to impact the game, what hope do you have in an early game confrontation like that? Bot Scuttle's going to spawn now, and with Henna and Xiaoxia getting their first back in, and of course, killing the bot lane before that to gain control of bot lane, ReZero has to leave here. He's not going to get that bot Scuttle. Jarvan will instead. OMG, you know, I had this talk last year, right? Because it was uncertain as to whether OMG would play in the LPL again. You know, they're one of the most historic teams here in the LPL. Photic checking out that brush, and we'll find them. There's no flash, though, onto the Yunara. Probably going to take aggro. And they're going to go look for the dive. Photic gets hit by the bubble. It's an easy kill. They will get one back. In fact, they're going to get two. It's a bad dive. They don't juggle the aggro very well at all to Ultra Prime. And OMG, despite the fact that they lost out in the initial 2v2, get two back on the dive. However, sadly for them, I think one of them ends up being... oh, sorry, Haicha gets one of the last ones because he roams over. Yeah, Haicha gets that roam over. So he gets a kill. No kills to Photic. The negative of this is that Photic dies again, and he gets nothing for this button assist. So the gold lead overall evened out somewhat as Haicha ghosted down to the play. I still think someone probably would have got the second kill anyway, even if Haicha wasn't there. Ryze is going to walk over, put a ward just onto topside jungle. Jungle has been very, well, it's been somewhat even up now. Climber had to flash away, has started with the 1 second. That's not a bad trade there from the 2v2. That's the Doran's Helm and the Doran's Bow, the starting items which they're talking about. Cassante builds a lot of Doran's Helm, and a lot of attack speed carries will go for the Doran's Bow because it's just got very good early game stats with attack speed being on a starting item for the first time. Harry put into the wall. Hang on, that's a couple more turret shots than he would have liked there, actually. Has to flash away there. Sassy. Good amount of damage there. Bubble landing on bot lane. We're fighting a lot in the lanes. You can see that these teams are really starting to kind of bear the knuckles and try and get these early advantages through lane themselves. Climb will face up against Rio there. As the clean feed has a bit of a wobble. Alright, that's a strange thing. Okay, that's... You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to switch over to the other server of the clean feed, just so we don't have ourselves any more issues with that. Because there are two servers for it, I think anyway, or two different places which host it. There you go. OMG's bot lane, not having a good time. Xiaoxia and Henna having a much better time than Photic and Moham. Of course, Henna's been around the block a few times. He's been in LCK, and now he's over in LPL. Xiaoxia, been around LPL for the last, I want to say this is second year in LPL. Photic and Moham. I mean, Moham was on D plus Kier as they went to Worlds in 24, right? No, he's been around for a little bit. Photic was on V5, he was on NIP, and then of course he was on IG just before this this split started. Fight now over the bot side for the level 6. Scuttle, the flick misses. Saber gets himself a bit of CC down. The bubble lands. He's had some very good bubble accuracy here. Flash away. Level 6 got by Climber there as he got that dunk to use. Takes the flash out of High Chat, but I think Ultra Prime will feel a little bit hard done by that. They didn't get any kills. Sassy, as we were seeing, doing quite well on that top lane, has actually gone for the Doran's Shield, not the Doran's Helm. I think against the Rumble and the Deathfire Touch, against any kind of DOT lane, the Doran's Shield gets more value. But the Doran's Helm is a very strong item on Cassante in most lanes, which is why I mentioned it there as the graphic pops up. Deathfire Touch is getting nerfed next patch by 1 damage at first rank, but when it's about those early damages, it goes from like 4 damage to 3, something like that, so before any other kind of calculations come through. So that is actually a significant nerf to Deathfire Touch, which look, I'm telling you folks, Deathfire Touch coming back, I thought it was going to destroy the metagame for a bit, and it has done. I thought we learned our lesson when that thing was in the game the last time. Oh, sorry. I'll ping Discord. My bad. I will ping Discord. I missed out on that. I can do that. Hang on TV2. I had a sound effect and I thought I should talk about that. All right, there you go. So it's been pinged. My bad. Yeah, normally I do that. My rhythm was a bit screwed up today because I went to bed really early and therefore I woke up earlier than I normally did, and then I went back to nap. It's just everything just went wrong in the morning, you know. I didn't get into my usual routine is what happened. Dragon's now going to get started here by OMG. 1,000 gold lead for Ultra Prime. Not bad. Not bad. Potential contest as Climber's over here. There is actually a very good chance to contest it. The ultimate from Climber is back up. They're going to start, see the dragon started now. Xiaoxia can clear the ward for Climber. Doesn't have to go melee for that. ReZero has been tanking the dragon for a while, so he's quite low HP. Chance of a Vi going into the Talir. Dragon is taken. They're going to cancel out the Realm Warp, so Saber is left alone on this side of the fight. Then here comes Climber, trying to make sure that he's not quite alone. He's going quite low here, but here come the enchanters. High Chat goes down first, and ReZero will have to call the retreat. So it's 1 for Dragon, OMG getting the dragon. And on the other side, Saber getting the kill onto High Chat. Climber, pretty good reactions from him, backing up Saber, as Saber is caught out a little bit as he went for a Realm Warp into position. Yeah, morning Crapton, good to see you. And I'm sorry, Salonius, normally I do ping the Discord, that's my bad. What I need to do is I need to set up a bot to do it again, but I haven't gone through the effort of doing that yet. So Grub's getting started by Ultra Prime, so if they did manage to get the most of those Grubs, they'd be trading Grubs for Dragon. I've not seen a team ignore so many players to get into the center of a fight. It was the correct choice, but yeah, I think Climber makes a good decision there, right? Because what he ends up doing, because he dunks High Chat, it means that the threaded volley doesn't actually end up connecting onto Saber because it's hitting Climber in melee range. You're right, though. Typically, when you've got champions like Corki and Yunara, even in early fights, if you ignore them, they kill everyone. That's why AD carries are always fought around essential pieces. If an AD carry is in a fight, typically they win it, and if the AD carry dies early, well, typically their team loses it. It's one of the easiest things to do when you're watching League of Legends, is to see what HP AD carries are on. And that's kind of not changed a lot throughout League history either. No, it's a fair call out, actually. It's a fair call out, Salonius, don't you worry. Climber getting the slight better of ReZero now, and he's got the kill and the assist, so he's up to the Sundered Sky already. Happy with that. 10 minutes is a pretty quick time to get that. Normally expected at about the 11 to 12 minute mark. It means that he can just kind of bully about ReZero up until those items get completed. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Sam's going to join us here as well. Sam had a meeting just before this, so it's a little bit delayed, but we're happy to have you in here, Sam. Let's roll that chair in and let's get the deal online. Right. Saber doesn't have the realm up just yet, so he's just hovering down to bot side just as a way to kind of walk his way down rather than have to use that globe instead. Climber, oh, that's a play. ReZero flashes. I mean, Climber's pretty strong with the completion of that first item, and maybe don't fight one item to none. Sassy's now teleporting in, can flash in for the Q slow, perhaps a little far there, and indeed it is. Sassy committing that flash. I mean, ReZero tried to go for the flash Q, and Climber just dunks, and the flash means nothing. I think the mistake, though, was looking for the fight in the first place because, well, I mean, there's a Sundered Sky to none. Typically, you don't want to take that fight ever. And I think OMG make the wrong call. Ultra Prime, I think they have a lot to thank Climber for in this early game. He's had good activity. He has been taking the damage but not dying. He's also been getting very active with this early Jarvan.
Thank you very much, Alex, for covering the games and holding the fort while I was a little bit indisposed, is the term we'll use, I suppose. And by the sounds of it, Ultra Prime just been making some good early moves here in general.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a mess, particularly through bot lane laning phase. So we had initially a very good start, level 1 from OMG, where they got the Nymaera Q stacked up before minions had even spawned. So we saw summoners used, it's getting a bit messy. And then Photic went too far and Henna killed him because he was looking for damage onto Xiaoxia. They didn't have damage onto the AD carry. It is a tenet of bot lane 2v2. You kill the AD carry before the support if you at all can. And then, you know, Ultra Prime, they went for a dive after getting bot side control, and they killed Photic, but they lost 2 in return. Photic has been the the most impacted player here, but Haichao had roamed down, he got a kill, Moen picked up a kill too, so you can tell from this bit of a mess. Since then, though, it has just felt as though Climber has gotten the better of situations across the map so far, and Ultra Prime are a healthy 3,000 gold ahead in 13 minutes. For an early game, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. And a lot of that's now come through from Saber, who's picked up those kills in those early fights.
Yeah, also the fact you've now got Hen, who's 1,300 gold ahead of Yunara, right? Which, again, we sort of saw Yunara as something of the Corki Slayer once upon a time. And yes, the Nami came in to help stabilize the Corki lanes, and normally it doesn't lead to this, though, and this is very problematic now because Corki plus Jarvan is one of those combos that I think people sometimes sleep on because it's very hard to dodge a Phos Bomb when you're inside a glass.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I really like Jarvan Nami as well, right? Because the Nami kind of either isolates the Vi out, or if you have the Jarvan who's kind of dunking in, can just kind of get that secondary CC while they're in the Cataclysm, and there's no hope at that point. Looks like we have another 3v3 brewing here, but once again, you just have to favor Ultra Prime. They have the stronger jungler right now, despite the fact that ReZero does have the Sundered Sky too. He's down longsword to Phage.
Yeah, Moam tried to be cheeky there and stay out of it, and get rid of the vision that was in the lane bushes, but with Climber around, it becomes a bit of a moot point. Dragon started, Rayo now coming around, ReZero looking to get involved, but this ain't no anime, and unfortunately, the genre ain't shonen, and that means that death is a very real possibility at any and all times.
Surprised they didn't pull the trigger harder. I thought that actually ReZero without a flash, I think that Climber could have just dunked him. He had the flash for it too. When ReZero used that Q forwards, I thought that was probably death because he didn't connect onto Henna's Corki. Surprised they got away with that. Skullcrab now spawning. So it's going to be an ultimate for none. OMG probably wiping their brow of sweat there. That was a bit scary.
I wonder whether with Moam having Flash and Haichao around, there was a world where the wild growth and the cease and desist and then being trapped in the Cataclysm where Haichao can get a fairly easy seismic shove off could have been a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, that's a fair point about shonen anime. A lot of the time when the protagonist dies, they do just kind of get up and keep going
again. Well, yeah, that's also that happens in League of Legends.
We have time paradoxes. We have like cloning, we have revival.
The more I'm thinking of this, I may have made a mistake on this point.
We have actual resurrections, as in Dragon Ball. Anything else you want to throw into that?
I'm trying to think about how to use my Deku voice in the right way.
Kachan, what if my quirk is coming back from the dead, Kachan?
Want to try it out?
Head of my house, try it! Oh, Photic!
The wild growth quirk makes Photic very large. Mounted Lady wishes it was that simple, and alas, it doesn't work out. They pick up a kill on the Yunara, who dies for the 3rd time this game.
I guess it's one for all when it comes for kills onto Photic this game.
I'm stacking up my tier 279? 282?
Shut the hell up, Sam.
285?
Oh, Jesus Christ. No. Dear God, stop. Dear God, stop it. We go down a dark path. I thought I could follow you down this dark road, but alas, Sam, I turn off here.
Oh, okay, all right, we're stopping there. But I had fun.
I did too, but there has to be like a logical point where this stops. Now, the problem with someone like Vi trying to go for the Texas smash here onto Saber is that he's very tanky with the rower stacking up already.
I'm struggling to lock back in.
Yeah, so anyone who's tabbed out is probably now tabbed back in.
What is happening?
Yeah, don't question it. It's just
I was inspired by one of the voice actors doing like the COD lobbies.
Oh yeah.
With like the inner thoughts of Deku. It's like, oh my god, there's a gamer girl in the lobby.
It's the legendary gamer girl. I've got to show them my skills. Oh, I died. I hope that she doesn't think any less of me.
So good. Gotta build up my Riz charge.
I swear to God, like that one was funny as hell. That one was very good. Like, it was actually, despite the fact cringe as hell, actually quite respectful to everyone involved, as opposed to many like voice lobby kind of pranks. So Ultra Prime have themselves, again, a significant lead. It was kind of hanging around the 3,000 gold mark. It's kind of gone about the place now because a couple of plates being taken. But with the Herald now, hang on a second, it might be used mid. Moem almost dies. This is going to be mid turret going down for first turret again, but the Taliyah's going to block it.
Can we get in there and drive it around in circles for a second or two?
They can, because the Taliyah wall doesn't last that long.
Fabulous. Well done. They get the turret. There'll be a little bit of a turnaround, but the tidal wave will disengage. Falls a flashback out from ReZero is now in a Cataclysm. Does have the Vault Breaker and the Wild Growth, but that is extra summoners, and the turret still falls. And you know what, guys? We can just turn on a dime from silly to serious as needed.
Hey, we learned from like Atlas and LS. We did. 1 minute is Pokemon and Animate, next minute it's wow, actually a really good play there. I mean, initially you do think the Taliyah wall very good there, it delays the charge. However, it doesn't last that long. One of the biggest nerfs to Taliyah over years has been the duration of that ultimate, because it doesn't stay up that long. It used to last like 6 seconds at first rank, and it went down to 4 or so at all ranks now, or something like that. It starts anyway off the game at quite low duration. Haichao does win out the 1v1 against Saber though, despite the fact that Saber has 1,000 gold lead though, so that's a brief moment of hope for OMG. I have to say Haichao has been the player who has, I think, deserved the most praise from OMG. ReZero split one, I think you can definitely say it was him. He kind of revolutionized this team and took them from a bottom 2 team into one, which did actually beat EDG in a best of 5.
Which was crazy.
To go beyond that first rung of Night's Rivals. Given the fact that they were a bottom 2 team for the first half of split 1, that was an incredible achievement for them, for their perspective. Now, of course, in the grand scheme of the LPL, it's not really a blip on the radar, really, but for them, it meant an awful lot. In this split, though, ReZero has not been that same player, and I think that it has been Haichao, really, that's been trying to hold down the fort. He's had some good individual moments. It's not been enough.
Okay, so eyes on.
You just have to take a breath and think about the next anime reference we're making.
Yeah, I thought about it and turned against it, is the honest answer. As Dragon's being started, that's likely just going to get picked up. I don't really see them being much of a contest here. ReZero was around, but without the flash and everything else being a little bit dubious in there, I think that would have been a mistake. And understandably says, maybe not.
Ultra Prime, quite easily getting themselves ahead in that objective sense now. Climber will EQ out. Does have, of course, the second item, but hang on, ReZero really fancies this now.
Wow, good chunk. The Cataclysm damage makes it a 1-for-1. That got a bit messy. Flash for the Rune Prison, though. Now Haichao's in a little bit of danger. Gets spell fluxed around. They're going to have to pull away and Realm Warp out, theoretically. Polymorph turns around and Sassy's now here in a bit of an awkward angle. This is all getting a little bit silly now. All right, we need to stop this.
Yeah, that's a little too far. I think pretty much everyone on Ultra Prime thinks they can have a go at it, and because they are further ahead in this game, they kind of can, but not quite to that degree. Both Saber and Sassy kind of take their time overstaying a little bit. Climber was the initial player that got caught out. I can't really blame him, right? I'm going to go watch that again in the replay. This is actually a blind flick back, just senses him in the tri-brush. Climber walks up and tries to get the fruit, doesn't see that ReZero is stuck around in there, does get the kill back, but the Jarvan, who's more fed, dying, is much more of a bigger loss in the fight. Now, get forwards towards more side laning now. We don't have the dragon spawning just yet. And just catching you up on what I was talking about in terms of these big storylines. Of course, OMG guaranteed out. Ultra Prime, if they win today, doesn't matter by 2 or by 1, they have a chance. Now, that chance is determined by the result of TT versus EDG. If TT lose, Ultra Prime have a chance of making it through out of bottom 2, and their journey continues on. If it doesn't, and they lose this series, this may be, Sam, the last series we ever see from Ultra Prime, and similarly for OMG. Now, we don't know what will happen in the offseason, but we know the overall state of the LPL has been a bit in flux for a little while. We do see, actually, Climber getting flipped back here.
Double shove back. Photic's getting a moment. The rune press and the flag and drag. The wild growth. Climber shorted that EQ, actually, slightly. So he didn't get the initial knock-up, and Photic is able to stand and deliver. It's Haichao who gets that kill. It's now 3-1.
Yeah, it didn't end up landing that EQ. I wasn't sure whether it was short to the side, but either way, it wasn't on target. And now Climber's died twice in the last 2 minutes. Those are good pickups at OMG. Ultra Prime, by all means, should be rolling ahead with this kind of composition, with the lead that they have. One of the big things coming out of draft I was talking about is how Ultra Prime, quite a tanky draft when you have Ryze and Cassandra backed up by a Nami. It's quite hard to cut through them, but now the fact that Ultra Prime are losing some extra gold, OMG have had a lot more room for maneuver than perhaps I would have given them before. 3 kills on Talia, who's got 2 items already. It's getting pretty scary.
The rocket belt, as ever, the usual mage second item these days for many of us out there. Surprised or not, we've not seen it on the rise in some capacity, bluntly.
He's got too much mana scaling. He needs the first 2 items. Like, if it goes third, there are some games where Proto Belt third is good on Rise because he has no mobility and it will help him go for like a Proto Belt Rune Prison, which legitimately can be quite threatening. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that the 3 items of something like the Actualizer is just way too powerful. However, in the future, if the Actualizer gets nerfed or something like that, or if he needs earlier power spike, there's a chance, Sam, and I hate the fact that I'm saying that Proto Belt Rise might be a thing.
Oh boy. Have we been seeing the crash outs on Twitter about Onivia top lane from various tank mains who've not been enjoying dealing with mages outside of mid lane?
Death by Touch, man. Death by Touch. I'm just saying, as soon as Death by Touch came into meta, I was like, we should have just kept this thing gone. There's a reason we removed it in the first place. So I don't have much sympathy for people. We should have called that Death by Touch. It's coming back in. I sat there alone on my little hilltop I was dying on, Sam. They're like, oh, DFT's bad for the game. And lo and behold, Sam, it's everywhere.
No, I'm not seeing any AD carries playing it right now, Al. There's got Conqueror and
Sam Smolder plays it. And he's the strongest AD carry on the patch.
That's true. Yeah,
Sam, Senna's playing it.
Yeah.
She's really
I was saying in
too.
this game specifically.
Hey, Sam, Shin uses it really well too.
He's still been using Fleet Footwork in Pride.
He's been using both. But yeah, anyway, DFT pretty strong. And also, hello over to Onivia's chat as well. Hello. Saying that. Where do you see? Oh, you're talking about where to read stats and stuff. Basically, look, there's a whole load of numbers on the screen. At the bottom of the screen, from left to right, you've got from each player kills, deaths, assists. That's why I call it KDA. Top of the screen, the big numbers are your kills for your teams. And welcome in. I hope you enjoy watching League of Legends. It can be quite a difficult esport to watch at points. Particularly because there's so much things going on. Like a dragon spawning in 20 seconds. That's one of the timers in the top left-hand corner. And if Ultra Prime get that, they're in a good spot. But they need the jungler alive for it, and he dies immediately.
Climber is climbing down into hell, apparently. That's not a great look. 3 deaths on the trot is not what I want to see from the jungler there. And OMG suddenly feel like they've got some license to fight. Sassy with that big old shield from the upgraded teleport. He's able to tank up an initial seismic shove, but the 4v5 is on a fun space to be in. Another seismic shove, and Haichao continues to throw out a bit more DPS.
Ultra need the fight. They don't have the smite. The equalizer goes down, and OMG can run at them now.
Yeah, force them to back away. Foti got left real low, though. Should be able to pick up the dragon and do now. They're on the retreat. Nice rune prison. Rayo goes over the wall. There's a big CC chain, but the wild growth buys some time. Sassy, though, is a big monster. Realm walk forward. Oh, Ultra Prime looking for more damage as Moam's that pretty low. Looks for the polymorph, but can't quite do it as the overloads and spell flux go crazy. Systems fried.
Triple kill for Saber, and there was a world in which he got a penta there, Sam. 24 minutes into the game, Ultra Prime take a little bit of a knock because Climber dies for a 3rd time in this mid game in awkward circumstances where he's the first person face checking. And you know, I did say that the Ultra Prime have quite a tanky team. That actually doesn't apply to Jarvan that much. Cassante's tankier than him, and I'd actually argue that the Ryze is tankier than him too, because at least he can kind of fire back and have that Seraph. Ultra Prime, though, they take so many kills from the Dragon fight, they think they can rush the Baron here, Sam. That'll be a huge turnaround back into their favor after it felt like control was slipping a bit.
Xante's still got all out, looking to try and keep ReZero away. Down to 6,000 HP. They know where the Vi is. Xiaoxia is threatening with Aqua Prisons and has a tidal wave as well. Makes this a little bit more interesting. Baron comes down. And Ultra Prime find themselves back in firm command after the get of the game. After a fumble or so, we'll start, I suspect, with Climber looking for a flank, walking across Vision and getting full sent at. Indeed, does find that ward on the flank angle. Saber's coming on up, but it's a little too little, a little too late. As the full send with a cease and desist plus damage makes things a bit dicey. And then Sassy is just very tanky on K'Sante and eats a solid 4 rotations from multiple members without losing his shields, which got a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, and while, you know, Henna and Saber have a ton of damage, and I think OMG misjudged that. Photic particularly misjudges that. I mean, this Yunara can't afford to go toe-to-toe with the Corki at this point. They're just too bursty, Sam. When you have the Imperial Mandate, Nami E on the Corki, you do just die, and Saber can then use the Realm Warp to get them back into position. OMG, they get the initial pick. You would have thought that'd be a godsend, but it feels like they just pushed it too far.
One comes the damage onto ReZero, who's just annihilated. Cataclysm has then stepped out of the untouchable shadow, but he's still going to get caught up with the Aqua Prism. Saber gets that one. Sassy's on a flank angle, looking to run at this Rumble, who's just not going to have any fun here. Dragged back with the all out. There'll be another Untofo strikes coming. Indeed it is. The seismic shove denies some damage from Hedda, who is going to be annihilated in turn. They do pick off the Rumble. Sassy footworks away. Seismic shove number 2 goes wide.
I mean, Highchas trying his best. You can't blame this Talir, who has been involved with everything from start to finish, really, for OMG. Gets another shove back there. Henna gets the tower aggro, burns down, and the shutdown goes to Harry on that Rumble. And you can tell the pressure on these teams, because like I was saying earlier, this could be legitimately the last series we see from either Ultra Prime or OMG. And as said earlier in the cast, Ultra Prime, if they lose here, they won't be playing again. This will be the last series for them in the year. OMG, this is the last series they will see from them in this year. And with the ever-changing scale and the landscape of the LPL and esports in general, there is a chance that neither of these teams are participating in LPL next year. We just simply don't know about that because so many teams have dropped out of LPL over the last 2 years. We had RNG and FPX this year. We had Rare Atom the year before that, so you have 3 overtimes. So this could potentially be the last series played by either Ultra Prime of the lineage of E-Star, one of those great teams which came up around, what, 2020 odd, with a huge rookie lineup, where a lot of our favorite players who are playing nowadays came through, and OMG, who have been here since 2013, one of the inaugural LPL teams and one of the real legends of the scene.
And indeed, official over on Onivia's chat, we are paying attention to questions where and when we can, so if you do have them, we'll do our best to answer them. Again, we are locked in a little on the cast, but we promise we do read chat, and we'll do our best, especially for new viewers who are coming in, and we'll do our best to kind of give you a bit of a breakdown of what you're actually looking at, because as Alex was noting, the numbers can get a little overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. One of the things about League of Legends is there's a lot going on, which means there's a lot to dive into. It's very cool. You can read into all these numbers. You get a lot of information. It does make it quite hard to pick it up, though. I've been mulling over making a how to watch League of Legends video in terms of in terms of if you're just going to break it down to basics for a friend who's watching League for the first time, what are the most important things to watch? You know, when you're watching a big team fight for the first time, really what you want to be watching out for is whether a jungler or an AD carry is alive around a team fight. Typically, your AD carry, if they're alive, you still have a chance. If they're dead, you don't really have much of a chance. And if it's about an objective, the jungler's dead, you're in big trouble. So those two are typically the big health bars to watch. Although every draft is different, every game is different. That's the beauty of League of Legends. That every game has a slightly different set of variables you're playing around. It's one of those hyper complex games, which means that you're never really going to get 2 games which are alike.
Got ourselves Dragon coming up right about now, which is another one of those things you probably do want to look out for if you're watching League of Legends. The top left corner of your screen, those big countdowns of rather important objectives, and I think key timers to watch out for in League of Legends. You know, the spawnings of these dragons and stuff tend to matter a little bit.
Sam, oh my god. We have Proto Belt Rise.
It is! I am a god amongst predictors.
Oh my god.
Alex, you're going to be the play-by-play now. I'm the color caster.
Sam, I said there was a chance that
No, it was me.
I actually said that Protobelt Rise was... Oh, Jesus Christ, we actually have it. And the funny thing is, we might also get a Medjai's Rise here too, because he's got the 10 stack. I can't believe we actually have a Protobelt Rise. It's infecting everything, Sam.
You ready to play-by-play this Baron fight? Because clearly I need to break it down.
That's fine, let's go. I'll play-by-play the next fight then. All right, leave me into it then.
Right. So we've got this big set around the mid lane. Going to be this Baron up in a minute or so. And I'm looking at these items. I'm seeing 3 items on the Corki, pretty significant. But that Protobelt on the Rise is where things are really going to be a problem. So teleport comes in behind.
Okay, teleport from Sassy, trying to get into position. Looks like the fight's not going to materialize for now. But so Sam, here's a color casting note. You've got to start a little bit lower energy, then ramp up into it to kind of just hand it off to me.
I'm inspired by Kobe, so my energy's always
even he does that too, okay. Sam. You can be excited, but it's about the intensity of it and the energy. One of the pillars of casting, as taught to us by Quickshot. By the way, actually, he does.
Shout out Trevor.
Shout out Trevor. I mean, it's very hard to kind of condense down casting into like specifics, but if you're going to, there are a couple of pillars which you're trying to focus on as casters. Turret's going to go down here in favor of OMG. The game's slowed down a little bit. Most of the fights which have happened have actually been OMG pulling the trigger, then quickly realizing it was a bad idea. Now, that's happened a lot of this split. OMG are a team which have, at points, drafted very, very well, but not always been good enough to play them.
So, eyes on those timers again. Got nearly the Infinity Edge and floating. I think if you do get that Infinity Edge on the AD carry, pretty significant here. You do need that champion to be online coming into what will be the pivotal fight. The gold lead is there for Ultra Prime, the control is there for Ultra Prime. We expect them to win this fight, but it's still going to be a potential angle back in. You've got that hyper carry of the Yunara, conditional though she may be.
Yeah, Hannah on the other side. He's kind of halfway housing his next item. It has the Zeal for a bit of move speed, a bit of crit. Still strong though, although he's a lot more even than he would have been beforehand. ReZero charging up the Q, thinking better of it. It's been the death of a few times here. Bit of a standoff, slowing things down. I think OMG would rather just fight around the next dragon, stall things out until they can get another item or two, as you're calling, those big item completions. Really important for them, especially since they're behind the game. They can't really afford to drop any more stats.
If you're going to look at a potential hero here from OMG, eyes on that mid lane. You've got 3.5 items. So Hydro's been hitting a lot of skill shots. You can blow up Henna again. Baron's just been started though, Alex, and I think with the lack of completion, someone's gonna have to come teleport in at a very minimum.
Yeah, I think Ultra Prime, they'll look for the teleport at minimum, and they're gonna peel off. So they do get the teleport out of Rumble, and now potentially looking for the fight. Sorelia's pop flashes forwards, a flash away from the dunk, and there's a lot of skill shots being thrown. It is the 1 kill onto Moham. They'll take the 1, despite the fact that it took 3 summoners and 3 ultimates. They will take the kill. Now, are they bold enough to go back towards the Baron? I'm not sure that's a big enough advantage for them.
They've baited the trap again. They're going to see whether they find any more prey. They got the rabbit last time. Hai Chao's left low, and that's a decent job, but again with the turn, same place as last time.
Okay, Sassy flashing forwards. A lot of summoners being thrown out by Ultra Prime. It's not the biggest wins, but it is going to allow them to go back towards the Baron. We did say they're a tanky team. It also helps against the Baron. Henna now looking for the poke, jumps out of the pit, jumps back into it. ReZero is around. Sam, in a battle of survival, it might come down to a smite fight, but ReZero, he can't get close enough. I thought maybe he could go for that. Can't even do that. Ultra Prime will take a single kill, put it into the Baron, and walk away.
That's the plan for now. They won't be able to turn any more kills in, but it's still very nicely managed. They take control of the vision. They have the Rise, they have the Jarvan. Their ability to turn and punish some of these flashless or just immobile members was very potent. And again, the split happened. Moam ends up alone and is very easy to break down. And OMG ran out of options really to find their way in a way that wouldn't have cost them the game. ReZero didn't want to force anyone to hold on to flashes to summoners for what could be a more important fight in 50 seconds or so in terms of this Cloud Soul, assuming OMG want to start it.
I have horrible news. It's not the Medjai's. He's sold the 10-stack Dark Seal for a Seekers. Is a Seekers really important? Yeah. Yes, it is. But also, Medjai's for the movement speed is really nice, actually. Yeah. Especially since he's trying to play for that target access. And you saw how, memes aside, he had to flash and ghost to get in range for a target. Having Protobelt and having a 10-stack Medjai's for the 10% movement speed is actually quite important for his aggressive game plan.
Quick logistical problem, or are you doing the next team fight? Am I doing the next team fight? Where are we at?
Give me one more.
Go on.
Give me one more.
All right, wait, here's a setup.
Soul fight coming up soon. You set me up for it, Sam.
Well, that's the big important thing here is with the Baron, they can look for this fight instead with the Realm Warp. They're not waiting for dragons.
Fota getting dunked on, gets dunked, gets flag dragged, but is alive. Yunara's alive, and if the AD carry's alive, you have a chance. ReZero goes down, and the smite is now off the table. They don't get the AD carry, but they get the smite off the board, and Ultra Prime will take that prize.
The problem is I'm now looking at a load of those summons that down. Photic just can't play the next fight, and the vision is still horrible for the side of OMG, so they can still wait and trap these passages into Dragon. It's not going to be an easy contest from OMG, especially with no smite.
Yeah, and they don't have any ultimates either. That one kill onto ReZero, I think, will end up doing it for them. There's a teleport coming in from Sassy, who's been using that aggressively the entire game long. That's Cloud Soul for Ultra Prime, and while these fights are singular kills, they're not always the cleanest setup. It's taking like 4 summoners to get onto the targets they need to. They are pulling the trigger at the right point. Folks, these are our 2 bottom teams in the LPL. Ultra Prime is fighting for survival, whereas OMG are fighting with no pressure on them. They're fighting for pride, and I think that shows through in the gameplay. You can tell that they really want to pull the trigger. They want to make the decisive play, which keeps them alive for Ultra Prime. It's not always the cleanest, but you can see the intensity behind it.
And I think people like players like Saber, players like, actually, honestly, Xiaosha have actually had pretty good games here. I think Climber has had some fumbles, but on the whole, I've liked the thought processes, even if sometimes been a little disrespectful of potential vision traps that OMG have set up in that mid game. I think that's become a little easier as they managed to clean up some of these turrets, clean up some of these wards, and be a little less at risk. But at this point, 6,000 gold up. Baron still for 14 odd seconds, Soul to their name, and I think Cloud Soul, even people like the Rise of the Cassante, very annoying. And they'll be happy enough with this game state, although Sassy's getting jumped on.
He's jumping onto him, going low. Where's his double? He really needs that. Goes all out instead. He's going to go down before reinforcements arrive, but now the cavalry's here.
Oh
and Rise Protobolt's into the play! Protobolt Rise! Dunks all over them. I can't believe this item is on Rise of all champions, but it might just win them this first game. It was initially a good pick from OMG, but the reinforcements get there just in time. 4 dead from OMG, and Ultra Prime march forward.
Rise is the nastiest sound tech you've never heard of. EQ, 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 baby. The microphone's peaking and ReZero will fall as well.
I'm not sure whether he's focusing on the treble, middle, or the bass, but yeah, the EQ, whatever he's doing, Sam, it's a bit of magic, isn't it? Ultra Prime, in a match of survival, will take game 1 of the series. OMG, it was a scrappy fight. They almost had their comeback at multiple points in the game. Not enough. Too little, too late. Ultra Prime 1-0 up in the series.
Turns out Alex makes for a decent play-by-play, and once or twice I have an okay color point. We're quite good at this casting business, folks. Hello, one and all. I'm finally here. Of course, did start a little later myself because...
Well, you can do almost anything, folks. All right, on to the... Wait, anyone want to run a game of Black Ops 2 Zombies? I mean, so funnily enough, there's some really good YouTube content on how to... There's some really good YouTube content on how to... like the world record videos for that. Very, very cool stuff. Should look into it if you got time, folks. It's very cool. All right, level 1. Trading starting off. Hello Sam, how's it going? We've gone through our draft into our second game here. High chat picking up the LeBlanc, gone for the Ignite. Now the way that I view this is, look, there's a lot of side laning that's going to be happening. I'm going to roll this around real quick as well. I think laning phase is so important in this game because of stuff like the Akali versus the LeBlanc. For OMG, it really is down to High Chow having an impact. I think this guy is the best OM player on OMG. On the side for Ultra Prime, no, I think that they have strong solo lanes here. Sassy and Saber will be looking, and even bot lane. You know, they have strong side lanes, strong individual bot lane as well with the Caitlyn Bard into the Lucian Milio. Is definitely very competitive. And I want to see how Ultra Prime use those lanes. It feels like it is going to be about individual play, which is great. You know, I think that for games where you're on the desperation line, when it is about survival for one team, even when teams are at the bottom of a league, you can see that desperation seep through into the gameplay, and that I like kind of seeing that high tension gameplay. It gets you emotionally invested. Right Q stun landing there allows the headshot onto Photic. The campfire will give some regen back, and while Xiaosha takes a lot of his HP too, as we saw in last game, HP on the AD carry is more important, so Ultra Prime get a slight winning trade there.
Photic does manage to dash forward and get a little bit more damage back with the shield on top of him. Again, it has gone for the barrier. Very easy way to get your vigilance passive active, which does obviously increase some of your autos. ReZero's going to flash over the wall here. Look for the back.
Okay, so
Play.
ReZero going in towards that bot lane. Doesn't have the flash to close the distance now, but it might not make much of a difference here. Hannah has the flash, gets away from the wind, becomes lightning. Xiaoxia might not be so lucky. Is he leveled up the magical journey? I'm not sure he has, Sam. I think he's got the other two abilities of the Shrine and the Cosmic Binding. First blood to Photic. Great flash over from ReZero.
Well done. Of course, the important thing for ReZero here is he gets no assists. Didn't touch the Bard at all. So for all, he gets the kill there for Photic and Moam, and that is important, don't get me wrong. Does cost him personally a little bit of timing here, because he's only got 11 out of those 12 CS. He's even dropped a small Krug to make this play.
So Climber might get himself an individual advantage. Now, Hannah loses the flash too. It does take summoners from OMG, but not the flashes themselves, so the more important summoner available for both of them. So we did say early laning phase, going to make a lot of impact here. Photic getting the first blood instead of anything else going wrong here is going to make a bit of a difference. Pantheon goes up to put a ward onto Krugs, as Sam's pointed that out for me. I don't think he can get the gank, and well, he might get the gank now. Sassy's baited it in.
He's got to do that. Gets very low. The wallop's well wide. Mininard's coming up shortly as well. This gets a bit interesting. We'll have a little bit to work with here. Has to be very careful about the HP bars, and the flash away is required, but Climber gets a follow-up kill topside.
Okay, so Harry is down that kill. Climber gets the kill himself. So individual jungle lead is going the side of Ultra Prime. Climber started last game very well and then died in the mid game. But this time when he's got the global, if he's very powerful individually and can just deliver the care package somewhere else on the Rift, that's going to be a big problem. Especially if he can stun someone up in front of the Akali. Now the Akali is getting pushed around in lane. No surprise, it's LeBlanc, a lane dominant champion, who's also taken that Ignite. No surprises there. Climber's going to have to be the difference maker now, with bot lane kind of falling behind and Climber being given the individual gold on the other side of the map.
So OMG with the early gold lead at this point. That was significant, but it's there. Place where it is a little bit more problematic. It's going to be in this mid lane where Haichao's managed to get a 10 or so CS lead. But hey, range v melee, especially with that Ignite on there as well, does tend to lead to those earlier advantages. Sabre will be looking to pull that back a little later on into the game. Bot lane, Photic does manage to relentless pursuit forwards, get a little bit more damage down, call that quits.
So OMG, much better start to this game than the last one, where everything fell apart through bot lane. The Lucian for Photic seems to be working a lot better than the Yunara in that first game. The Yunara Lulu really not getting the most done. Recall stop there by Haichao, trying to make sure he can get, again, as much of this early lane pressure as he can. Hang on, he's got the level 6, he's going in for it. Whoa. Gets the E on target. Haichao going low, very, very close to the empowered also. The solo goes to Haichao.
Just about had the Ignite damage there. Of course, flash for the Q! Climber gets the return.
Climber is now 700 gold up. Sabre, I mean, he's famous for his Akali. And that Akali gets some dividends right there. Gets the level 6 off of the minion, despite Haichao stopping that back. Gets a clean E right onto Haichao. Does take Climber getting back to clean up the kill, though. Haichao had managed to get that chain down. Extra autos, extra QW. Ends up being a 1-for-1. Climber needs to start spreading this advantage. He's about to hit that level 6. He's ahead in XP, ahead in kills, ahead in CS. Climber needs to be the difference now. Ultra Prime, if they win this hit 2-0, they give themselves the best possible chance to escape bottom 2. It's them or TT at this point. EDG are safe. Even if EDG were to lose to TT, they would just finish at a minimum, I believe, of 4th place. TT, they would be the ones kind of trading out their spot, sadly, with Ultra Prime. And here comes the first ult of the game from Climber. Doesn't have that flash. Flash away from Photic. Can they follow up? That's a good Q from Moham. They need themselves to stun. It lands there, and that's a problem. Here's the empowered W.
Shield Vault is in. The autos come flying. The Aegis Assault is there, and Climber does get another 3-0 now on the Pantheon.
We said he needs to be the difference maker. Hits level 6, immediately throws it bot lane. That's what I wanted to see. He gets it very early. And it's quite unexpected because you expect the level 6 off of that Scuttle Crab. He gets it early because the amount of kills and some of the lane farm he managed to leech XP off of through his 2 ganks in top lane and in mid lane as well. Unexpected play, unexpected gank in bagging area. Gets himself a Sundered Scar on this back, you'd have to imagine, as well. He can get himself through all of his camps and bot side. He has to be the difference maker, immediately does so.
Nicely done, and they will be happy enough with that kill secure. At this point, a bit of a look behind. The control ward in mid lane is just being really annoying for poor old Sabre to have options to shove out this lane safely, especially as Haichao's ability to roam with the Ignite early on going to be quite important because, of course, we'll have the teleport, so ways to get out of lane unspotted will be significant. Xiaoxia is around here, looking to potentially help support his mid laner, who's having a bit of a tough time. That ward in the mid lane was under consideration for attack, but I think you don't want to face check the LeBlanc. Let's be real here.
So, waiting now for that ultimate to come back up on Climate. Hasn't had his recall just yet, so he'll have that Sundered Sky on recall. 10 CS lead and that kill to Haichao in mid. Doesn't have the Dark Seal to start snowballing with that. For OMG on the other side, because we quite clearly said it's about Climate. Don't think it's going to be that much. It'll just be a distort forced out by Haichao at worst, and there you go. Xiaoxia just make sure that Saber has a bit more pressure in lane, doesn't change it that much. OMG, they do need Haichao to be a difference maker, though. I think that the LeBlanc can deal with the Akali across the game. And beyond that, now Photic has the kill. If Photic on the Lucian can start causing some damage here, it's Haichao and Photic with the real agency here for OMG.
Yeah, once we got donated that first blood, Henna is up a little bit of CS, but not really to any meaningful lead. And again, Caitlyn's scaling's a bit of a weird one. She often needs to have CC chains to really be threatening. Her auto attack chains are fine, but unless she's in a bush, she's not getting loads of those headshot autos off, unless you do get to kind of go those trap combos. But doing those trap combos kind of requires a bit more time than people often think. And that's not easy to do in team fights, especially when people like the Lucian, when the Xinzao, when the LeBlanc are jumping at you. So see exactly how that goes. The scaling on the Caitlyn sometimes a bit more conditional, I think, than some people are. Yeah, it's not quite as simple as saying, oh, Caitlyn with 3 items is really good, which is like, it's, it's not quite that easy.
We saw this the other day, right? So like Caitlyn in Weibo versus JDG, we saw the Caitlyn, like many people think that Caitlyn, you know, would have outranged certain champions of that team, but you think like, well, you've got Ezreal Jace. The poke is just too much of a problem there. Now in a game like this, I actually think you do outscale in terms of that range because the Lucian has to dash into your traps at that point. The Milio can help. I think this is a game where the Lucian needs to go rapid fire cannon to try and get that extra range onto it too. If the Lucian goes fire cannon, it's a more interesting conversation. If he doesn't, he goes for the flicker blades instead. Better against the rest of the team, but not as good versus the Caitlyn.
You still got to watch out for the Xinzao, LeBlanc, and Gnar flanks, though, which do, of course, sometimes make the Caitlyn flank a little harder. She likes it when people come from a specific direction, so she can set up her trap lines and her...
The single directional team fighters. Now, there are a class of champions that want fights in just one direction. Typically, they're the ones with terrain. Typically, they're the ones with one giant big line skill shot. So that's stuff like Nami Tidal Wave. Hang on, that's the E landing there. Saber gets a great trade. He can actually start look to assassinate here.
Where's the R2? Doesn't want to look to pull it off, so the Astromech stays shy, but a Grand Starfall will come on in regardless. Behind the enemy lines. Backstep from that Tempered Fate. Henna left pretty low. Decent stun there onto ReZero. Got picked up by a Cosmic Binding, I think, as he went over the wall. Breath of Life, though, makes things a little bit spicy, and that will give enough healing to bring down that 3-0 Pantheon. Big shutdown going the way of ReZero, and the magical journey away from Ultra Prime.
The huge play that we just missed there was that ReZero got the Q3 knockup onto the stun of Climber. It cancelled his W, so he didn't get it. So he was knocked up midway through his W, which meant that he was completely shut down. Climber gives a kill over, and OMG will win the fight. That's huge. They shut down the most important member of Ultra Prime. Reminder that OMG, you know, they're fighting for pride here. Ultra Prime, this game means so much more for them.
Support just back. They can maybe look for a bit more here, but they don't want to burn any extra summoners, so that'll be the end of that.
I think Photic with Barrier would be quite hard. I mean, you do have the Caitlyn ult, which is that still on cooldown? No, actually, it's still there, actually. Oh, no, so it wasn't cooldown. So you didn't even have the Caitlyn ultimate, so I think just a little bit too far away from the Caitlyn to follow up that. OMG, taking themselves a really important kill on that Pantheon. Can't stress that enough.
Not a good CC chain there. I think there was an attempt to disengage from Xiaoxia, wasn't quite enough, and so Climber ends up in a bit of an awkward spot. Flash into the mid lane, though, with that shield bind. Haichao's down again. R2 comes on full, but it's a nice kickback, actually, from Marm to deny the damage.
I don't think it's... I mean, realistically, he's not dying there, but it's a nice little follow-up to the play. Moam not able to save his mid laner. Haichao goes down. We said that Haichao had been the best player from OMG. Well, you're now even with the matchup which you tried to counter in lane, and LeBlanc is not good when she falls behind the game. You haven't taken the teleport, you've taken the ignite, you're now even in lane with that matchup. That's a problem, Sam. If Haichao, despite the fact that the rest of the team is doing quite well for them, if Haichao can't be a factor, I think that's a huge net negative for OMG.
TP back in from Saber, doesn't have the ultimate. The LeBlanc won't be here quite now. Climber does pick up that dragon. There'll be a magical journey away, and so that will be the end of the play. Culling burned there by Photic on the exit from it all.
A second, I was wondering what they were zooming in on there. Maybe they had a bit of advanced warning on the whole trap thing. Henna's now getting Titanic Hydra'd by Henna.
There's a trap line, though, and now ReZero gets caught. There'll be a trap put underneath, and that'll be the end of that. No, there's not actually got the cooldown on the Yordle Snap Trap, but they go back in. Here comes Saber, though. This makes things a bit more interesting. Climber left low, not quite down yet, but there we go. Come over the wall is Photic, and of course, Haichao, who's now here. Shuriken Flip lands When's the cooldown on this ultimate? Still a little ways off from Saber, so the Tempered Fate looked good, but they didn't have traps to follow up with it.
Yeah, you only have so many you can put down in terms of the charges, and you'd only had a couple of them. Saber doesn't have the ult up yet. He can't commit with the perfect execution. Exactly. If he had that ultimate, that would have been a one fight for Ultra Prime. He doesn't. OMG realized that, and they take the fight. Also knowing that Hannah doesn't have the second, well, he might have the second level in the W, yeah, of course he would do because you max at second, but he doesn't have, you know, any higher cooldown on it, and you only have a maximum amount of charges it'll build up to as well, and a maximum amount you can put down. That's a one fight for OMG, and again, very important. This has been a very back and forth game. Again, we're seeing a game between the two technically worst teams within the LPL right now. OMG, they are already confirmed bottom two. This will be the last LPL series that they play this year. Ultra Prime, if they lose this, it will also be the last LPL series that they play this year, because they will be also kind of eliminated from split 3 contention in LPL. Ultra Prime desperately needs to win this because of that. And of course, as we said, with the changing landscape of LPL and esports in general, this could be the last series for either of these teams. A historic team in OMG, Ultra Prime one, which, as we said, changed over from E-Star a number of years ago. They inherited that organization, which I believe that's where Wei came up in, actually. There's a lot of great players came up from that E-Star roster when they first had their initial run. And they've struggled to really match that when they became Ultra Prime. In fact, I think I saw a tweet from Harian, who's one of the, well, the biggest Ultra Prime fan, I believe, in the LPL community, really, who's kind of tracking down some stats. And Ultra Prime, I believe their biggest game win streak was 4 in a row across the entirety of the time. They've struggled to knit together significant splits. For me, Summer 24 was probably the highlight for them. They had a really impressive run there with Hacker, and they had like they had the 2-0 head-to-head versus Weibo in that split. That was when Weibo actually made summer finals and they made world semifinals. Ultra Prime had a winning head-to-head versus them. That was I've had a lot of fond memories of this team, and you know, I'd like to see them continue. Ultra Prime, if they win this series, it depends on the matchup of EDG TT afterwards. They're gonna have to sit with bated breath.
iChat potentially in danger here. Does face check the shield vault. Shuriken flip follows. Double distort. Flash for a rocket belt in. They hop back towards the other landing point, but there's just nowhere to go. The cooldowns aren't there. Saber gets his first kill of the game, and Hai Chao is just not having fun.
From Climber. I think he's a little off distance here, though. ReZero is now actually going to find him, and he's going to go back towards him. Empowered Q.
Quite a lot of damage, and the Cosmic Finding makes things a bit spicy. Xiao is just about away with a short magical journey, but gets him out of range of the extended autos of the Lucian.
Yeah, Climber, a bit perspective with that. I've been using that word quite a lot. I'm not. I trust. Yeah, I
did have to flash it.
I'm not a minor, as in terms of like somebody. Yeah, I'm almost 30 for one. I'm also, and then I don't dig rocks up out of the ground. So I'm not a minor in either sense of the words. But you know, prospecting. Oh yeah, prospective pantheon. That's what I'm here for. Give me that gold in the river, Sam. I'm panning for gold.
Speculative pantheon.
Yeah, it's the Pan Man himself. He's just panning for gold this time.
he needs 350 of it from every kill.
Yeah, as opposed to like
from the bloodstreams of my enemies.
And I know we have Baker Pantheon, but also if it's specifically in French, it was like Pan Man or Pantheon in terms of pan as in bread, or like pan au chocolat. I thought that would have been even better.
Yeah.
You know, they're releasing like a breadsticks Aurelia. Where's Pantheon?
Spaghetti a la Vel'Koz is also
wonderful.
Superb.
Have you seen the voice lines he has for Nunu? When he kills Nunu, he's like, "No, you're meant to be my perfect match. Eat me, Nunu." Because of like the consume from Nunu. It's some real crack ship energy where they're like, what do you mean we have like a Nunu Vel'Koz pairing where like pasta a la Vel'Koz is like trying to be consumed by Nunu's Q. What have we come to? Needed it for Warwick as well. You know, any of the champions with like a significant bite ability needed that. Do you have any follow-up on this? Yeah, Chomp would have. Yeah. Cho'Gathol. What's that?
That's true.
I'm telling you, Riot. Why is this favoritism towards Nunu?
There's the nice headshot damage, actually, and comes the ace in the hole as well. Now ReZero left a little bit in a tricky position, but is able to dodge away from a few more skill shots, but nicely done from Henna there. It doesn't have a lot of mana, but will be happy enough with the damage done to Photic.
It turns out when you jump into a Pantheon, who then just immediately full combos you, you take most of your HP. Climber 2 items shreds Photic alongside Henna. Dragon will be the price for that. They get a bit of healing, of course, because Milio can help with that. Herald summon mid, but it's, yeah, you've got the Tempered Fray. Good call on that. That'll deny the charge here.
They'll try and drive around, and that'll be the end of it. ReZero's got to be a little bit careful here. Throws out the winds, becomes lightning. Is he going to have to Crescent Guard? He may well be. Flash forwards for the stun and the slow. He's not going to quite land the stun, but here comes Saber. It's the end of it, I think. Over the wall we go. Dead with the 5-point strike. And ReZero dies for the first time this game.
Well, by our knowledge, Sam, maybe he's done this in another life several times. No one tell Amelia, you know. She's going to be very, very sad. You know, that show was really it's hard to tell people who are like getting into anime beyond that point how much of a cultural like phenomena that was. ReZero, it's a good show. I do enjoy it. I mean, considering a lot of the like trending anime of the 2010s and the 2020s have been like, some of them have been very good. I think Free Run's very good.
Yeah.
A lot of them where I'm like, okay, look, solo leveling, it's not all that.
It's
folks.
just aura farming.
Yeah, and like much in the same way that Sword Art Online, I can understand why people enjoy it. I'm not going to stoop down to call it good. You know what I mean?
Something can be enjoyable and not necessarily objective.
Oh yeah. I enjoy plenty of trash, Sam. I have watched and read a great many isekai which are not good. They are specifically not good. Nor am I watching them because they're good. I'm watching them because I need something to like zone out to, and that's actually
Trash
fine.
is perfectly valid to enjoy, but know what it is.
Exactly.
What else came out at the same sort of time as?
Well, it was kind of after the Attack on Titan hype, right?
So
it was
around Konosuba, probably the other one.
Yeah, that was kind of contemporary of it. Again, actually, Konosuba is not bad. It's pretty good on the whole. Yeah, I can understand that Attack on Titan is actually much better than the other contemporary kind of like trending stuff. I didn't enjoy it as much, but at least I can accept it as being good, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, right, probably should get back into this actually very important game. Gold's getting quite even now. Again, Climber is really scary, has that second item. ReZero is going towards the Dusk and Dawn second. Doesn't have it yet, but he's walking in without Titanic, but he doesn't have the healing yet, and he's taking a lot of damage.
So it comes on down. There'll be a bit of suck from the Maiden coming on down, and teleport as well, but Harry needs to flash away, and that mini Nara is dead. The Tempered Fate on 2, but ReZero in a bind, quite literally. Flash from Sassy, perfect execution part 2, and goodbye Shinzao. Photic and Moam escape for now, but their jungle, their top lane, the dead, and Haichao is trapped in the river, distorting away, but he's still going to get bonked. The ghouls are flying, the Morning Mist has landed, and LeBlanc, the last right to come.
Oh, the ghouls!
Just wide. Does manage to escape.
The Morning Mist hit, he didn't have the ghouls. If the ghouls were there, he would have got them, but they died. So he didn't have the ability to aggro onto them. That would have killed him, but the little Gribblies weren't there to follow.
The effects sometimes on this skin catch me. I thought it was just short of the Morning Mist.
Every Yorick skin confuses me with this E, and I'm like, how did that hit? It's because of that slightly kind of like irregular hitbox where it kind of spreads out at the wider part and goes slightly beyond a little bit on the ground too. It did actually hit.
I saw the effects after.
Haichao would have died if there were ghouls. It was really close. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, Sam, to be honest, Sam, when I'm in game versus Yorick, I miss them too. So I mean, we're allowed that at some point. Teleport onto a trap. That's not how you win a team fight. Harry doesn't get to do anything, and I think this has been, I suppose, a very poor split from Harry. He's been in the LPL for a little while, and this has not been a clean one for him. Sadly for OMG, this may well be a completely, a winless split in terms of series for them. They don't get that many to play, only the 5 total. Ultra Prime, they have been a team which have so often fallen apart at the final hurdle. They are not a good team historically under pressure. I've watched them when they've been on some of the better runs of form. I've seen them when they've had some decent upsets over time. I particularly go back to that summer 2024, where all they had to do was win one more series after a really good start. They couldn't do it. Now, Ultra Prime, here and now, winning a series which would be the death of them, it's important, Sam. Just in the history of Ultra Prime, and I understand that, it's bottom tier teams. I want people to really, understand that the journey of this team, though. Ultra Prime are not good in situations like these historically. They're finally winning a series which might save their life. It'll depend on EDG, TT. They're doing all that's asked of them here.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Ultra Prime now in mid lane. Good damage onto Xiao. A Haichao, actually, who doesn't have the distort available. Traps come down. Tries to Breath of Life to get some CC chain, but he's still in range for the auto that was flying. No way to distort out of that. 1 and 4 now on the LeBlanc.
Yeah, Caitlyn Bard, kind of crazy, because when you press a Zhonya's in front of Caitlyn, she kills you.
Bad time, yeah.
You give them a Zhonya's, but it's like with like a mean note attached to it going, enjoy the next 5 seconds.
That's all you're going to have.
That's all you're going to have. The tower's going to go down. Ultra Prime break open a second turret, and the mid lane turret is the most important of them all. Ultra Prime have been so much better at being proactive here. Now, across a lot of this split, they have struggled to be proactive, or they've fallen apart around specific plays in the late game where they couldn't play it around the objectives. They've actually been very locked in today, Sam. Last game, they won through laning phase. Climber had a bit of a wobble in mid-game, but then they really rallied around Saber towards late. This time, I think, you know, Climber's had a much better game on the whole. But Xiaoxia, great series between both games. He called that out in game one. He's a player which I don't talk about that much because it feels like he plays second fiddle, really, to a lot of the players on this team. This has been a really good Bard game.
Yeah, he's had a really good showing today. It's fantastic news for Ultra Prime. And again, from the series we did see from Ultra Prime in that win, which I believe was against LNG, if I want to say, who are now actually top of the table. If memory serves, LNG...
LGD, I think it was.
Was it LG? No, because LGD... Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they took the win versus OMG and, sorry, they took the one versus, and it was LGD who they beat. They lost to LNG.
That's the one way around. I do apologize. There you go. OMG, on the other hand, have been really struggling in general. Tempered Fate comes on down. The Mega Nara wave, it's only a knockout, and Sabersaw has the perfect execution part 2.
Yeah.
The sequel's always a little bit better than the initial showing in this particular variety.
Yeah, there aren't that many series in the split. But when LGD came out of the gates, they were the best team in Nirvana for the first few series. They went 2-0. They went up against Ultra Prime, who was 0-1 after having a really poor first series. And we were thinking, oh god, this is looking really disastrous for them. Destroyed them. It was not a close best of 3, actually. They really beat them quite hard. And then they lost the next 2 after that.
So LNG went against that with that. We were saying, oh, actually, LNG after a rough start, this could be a tough one.
Although I think LNG lost their first series.
They did.
EDG,
they did,
and then they've gone and then they went 4-1 beyond that point. So yeah, again, look, in Nirvana, we don't really get that many games from each of these teams. Quite hard to actually showcase the form of these teams, because and I know a lot of people in chat are interested in predictions, and I mean, in any sport you want to predict them, right? And stuff like that. It's just part of the culture of sports and competition in general. Who's the favorite? Who's stronger in this? What should we expect? In Nirvana, it's very hard to tell that. That's a Proto Belt forwards from Hydra trying to get onto Xiaoxia.
There's a good amount of damage onto Photic. The ace in the hole comes flying across. ReZero ends up tagging the ace in the hole. 3 minutes till Dragon will be Mountain Soul Point for a team with a Pantheon and a Yorick, who will likely be going Jack Show third, knowing how Yorick's build these days. And I get a little nervous here about how easy it's going to be to play this out. At least ReZero's finally got to that Dusk and Dawn. You have that 2 items on the LeBlanc, and yes, the Lucians managed to pick up the Rapid Fire to try and outrange and find those moments to go in, but I'm not a fan of this team if it's behind from these mid-game stages. You were asked to play around the 1-2 item mark. I fear for OMG that they have not, and the scaling and the consistent DPS and the target access from Ultra Prime is getting a little alarming here, because you jump in as Haichao and you get punished.
Oh, ReZero does have that second eye with the Dusk and Dawn. Definitely helps him a little bit in terms of that damage, and the healing mainly on top of it too. Yeah, OMG, this LeBlanc is behind. That's a horrid problem for them. A horrid problem. I was going goofy on you. Yeah. That's a Mickey. I went wrong there. Do you mind if I smoke?
Still the best.
My boy's Tom Goofy. You're going to do some business out of the back room
post of all time.
Yeah, for those of you who weren't around in like 2016, oh no, 2018 or something, it's when Team Liquid got the Disney investment. There was a guy called Papaya Dreaming on Reddit who would do just the most wonderful, just like parody posts. He's talking about how like the mobsters of Disney were gonna like do business out of the Team Liquid shop.
The thing that really, okay, minor rant, because we've got a minute or so before we actually have to lock back in again.
Right.
I am very annoyed that the mods on Reddit and average Reddit people got so annoyed that they couldn't figure out it was satire that they actually got too baited by it and annoyed. It's like, guys, if you can't figure it out it's satire, that's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah, that's on you. Actually, like, you shouldn't have to have this like absolutely spelled out for you. And if you do,
they had to add a satire tag to the.
They did.
Yeah.
But which I think is ridiculous, patently ridiculous.
Yeah. Which is a shame. I understand that Reddit is often the place for a lot of second language English speakers too, and I feel for them in that kind of equation for it, but nah, it's way better when you just have to figure it out yourselves. So we've had a side lane turret trade, we've had top lane go to Haichao, bot lane go to Saber. I mean, Haichao, the Proto Belt second, it's not the most one-shotty build. It's okay in terms of item spike, but it's just not going to be able to kill off someone like Henna. Now, at this point in the game, you would have expected the gold lead to be, hopefully, reversed between Haichao and Saber, so you could actually one-shot for Caitlyn on the other side. Thank you, Harold, by the way. I'll check that out, man, between games. Dragon now spawning in under a minute. 3 items for Henry, who's got the fire cannon. A lot of games, I think fire cannon is actually overrated on Caitlyn. In a game like this, you're going fire cannon versus fire cannon on the Lucian. We know that it's a range battle, and you have enough damage anyway. You have enough damage. You're going to be one-shotting a very squishy team on the side of OMG.
Yeah.
And now you've got control over the river. You can set up your trap line. OMG, it's going to be pretty hard for them to play this out. Although Henna's actually not setting up a trap line at the objective. They're looking to play through mid lane. I think they've actually set this up quite poorly.
Best there, and Henna taking a bit of a chunk from the Lucian's not great either, actually. Saber is going to run into Harry here. He's going to be a known quantity on this Akali. The temper fate well wide. Hydra has to rocket belt to get out of there, but does so.
So that item's down, but the ultimate from that Bard, very important. Ultra Prime, what do you got? That's the ultimate out of the Milio, so training some big cooldowns now.
Just for a shield vault, actually. That's a big one. Makes things quite tricky now for the fight. The damage comes on forward. Henna does get tanked, but Sassy will deal with the rest of it. Has got a TP to rejoin if he wants to reset here. You might well do, actually, looking at this.
Yeah, I got to watch for the Mega Gnar from Harry. He's got it on good timing this time. Henna, he's going to be healing up bits and pieces. Has the Bard Shrines. I didn't see which boots he went, whether he went for the healing was or not. Here comes Haichao. Flash away from the W.
Really good work and gets the kill. The flash forward there was entirely unnecessary, and they lose their mid lane. And we look at Saber, who just gets stunned up. There's a Mega Gnar to work with, but slowed up briefly. Shao's just getting those meat-empowered autos. Cosmic Binding onto the wall. In goes ReZero. R away. The knock up. The Dark Procession. The shield comes out and Climber flashes away. Saber throws a few more kunai to the back of the Ancient Gnar. And that'll be a few more kills. Xiaoxi does need to think about getting out of here, but should be okay. Another Shuriken flip just wide. Floating and Moam will do their level best to try and find something, anything here, but with 3 members dead, that's just Soul and Ultra Prime find their prize.
Henna does go down, but it's Mountain Soul. It gets so much harder from this point. How do you play the LeBlanc when you can't one-shot already? Sadly for Haichao, who I think has been OMG's best player across the split, it's not been a good enough game from him. He's 1-5 in their last series of the year. OMG in 2025 obviously fell out in Split 3 as well. It was a different roster, it was a different time to a point too. This year we thought maybe it would go a bit better after Split 1. It's a great reaction flash from Henna. Doesn't get hit by the W. And Haichao, sadly for him, it's just not the game he's needed. Tries to assassinate the AD character, doesn't have the gold, doesn't outplay. Gets his ankles broken, and it does end up dying in the back end of the fight, quite funnily. Wait, what even happens to him? Does he get hit by just like a random boulder or something? I can imagine that's what happens. Okay, how does Henna die here? Legit, how does he, did he just get jumped on by ReZero? No, legit, what happened? He just,
flash.
He just gets jumped on by the Shinzo. He had no reason to die there, my dude, come on.
Yeah, it was a flash audacious charge is a lot longer range than I think sometimes you expect.
Yeah, well,
and he was caught mid-auto animation, so he couldn't E away, all these things. But nicely done, at least got something there. But it's still a big team fight win for Ultra Prime, plus they get Mountain Soul, and that is just making things harder and harder. There's a Zhonya's now on Saber, you've got the GA on Climber, we are building towards a Jack show for Sassy, who's going to be quite hard to bring down, though they are going to send the whole goon squad up here to try and bring him down, but they can pile out of the clown car. I don't know how simple it'll be to bring down the Yorick, who may well just be saying, funeral homes have got a bit of a deal on OMG members right now. Survives the Tempered Fate for a little bit longer. The Dark Procession zones ReZero up for the rest of his team, and Saber picks him up again. The 5 points right in the ground. Starfall, everything comes in. The 2-man Cosmic Binding. Haichao's left split off. There's a super mega blaze kick that denies some of Climber's angle, but can still look to come across here. Through the magical journey we look. Good chunk onto Moam.
There we go. OMG looking for the retreat. They will be able to get that. LeBlanc on the side, it will just be the death onto ReZero. Again, he was the hero for OMG in Split 1 coming in as a rookie. He's not been able to have that second album be as good as the first, sadly. Split 2 has just not been there. Haichao is going to find Xiaoxi, but the Mountain Soul makes it so hard to chunk out anyone. The poor Ludens isn't getting through the Mountain Soul, and now Saber can walk up to a Mega Knight. He doesn't care. He opts over the stun. Goes in for the big play. Photic's going low. They do have a Mega Knight. It's broken. Again, Saber hops, skips, and jumps over OMG. Puts them into an early grave.
Photic just about squeaks away alive, but the Baron falls. Their top lane is gone, and they've got to reset. Photic can't sit here and clear the wave on 10% HP. Ultra Prime smell blood in the water, and the Sharks are circling. Haichao on the flank.
When Saber came into the LPL for Ultra Prime, he'd occasionally have a game like this where he'd lock in the Akali, the Lucian, big playmakers for him, and he'd have a good show of it. He's not been able to consistently do that in the LPL, but here in perhaps the most important series of the year for Ultra Prime, they do manage to pull it out, and Saber leads the charge to allow Ultra Prime a 2-0 over OMG.
To the Nexus turrets we go. The 21-gun salute comes out from Photic. We are here today to celebrate what could be the final game ever from OMG, felled by Ultra Prime. It isn't pretty, but it is done.
OMG Esports looking to bring them down a notch or two and seal out what would be a 2-0 head-to-head in the best of. Let's hit the gyros and get onto the Rift for a top-tier matchup. Onto the Rift we go. Viper Xayah. One of his best champions of all time. He's actually contesting for best Xayah of all time. He is very, very good on the champion. He played it ever since it was kind of in meta, right? All those years ago. It is his 5th most played champion. He's played 68 games. This is his 69th game of Xayah over time. I don't know which either of them are.
Matcher? Yuzu something or other.
I'll have the match. Why not? Cheers, Sam. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Harold, for that too, for helping us.
Keep you with some donuts as well.
Keep sustained throughout the day. He's a very kind person, is Harold, and we appreciate him. We'd appreciate him that. Some donuts as well. Wonderful. We'll have them in the break. Okay, so level 1, Jackaloff holding onto that 4th shot. Uses it on the minion. Viper and On. Trying to hit those Rakan Qs. One of the big things that BLG used to do was Elk and On playing the Xayah Rakan. The way that they play the combo is you wait until a little bit later into the game, of course, but once you get to that level 3, you have the Rakan jumping forwards, gets the knock up, the Xayah immediately EQs, the Rakan hits a Q, then E's back out, and actually you've done a decent amount of HP to whoever gets caught out there. Cream looking for those Qs. Knight actually giving up a CS or two to make sure he doesn't get hit by the Noxious Blast, especially at level 2. Cream has some nasty ability to trade back, and you see right there, once again, hopping over it. He's losing CS to keep his HP high to make sure that Cream doesn't just get them huge amount of HP out of the LeBlanc.
Here's the Deathfire touch on the Cassiopeia. Worth noting again, the Cassante's gone towards that Doran's Helm, just keeping an eye on some of those newer options. Worth noting as well, Bin has gone towards the Grasp on the Jace. You can abuse that quite well in the right matchups, because also while you're in range form and then transforming into your melee form mid, Auto Flight still gets you that melee Grasp proc. Worth noting that Viper did have to burn the barrier on the early shove, though the heal back from the Gleaming Quill from On makes things a little bit spicy, but there's the additional heal burned as well. So Viper On down a couple summoners here, but again, part of the price you're paying for this one. So Beyond's been left very low here in this top lane match. If he drops the Cassante, and this time Bin is going to get the solo kill. The shot blast is accelerated into the skull of Cassante.
In the first round, Robin, Suyan was the hero for top esports. We might see a gank in bot side. Now flashes forwards.
Interrupted mid-E, but there's a second battle dance and On is out.
Funguay flash for the root, gets it on target, but the follow-up wasn't quite there. Fighting over the Scuttle Crab on bot side. Does Knight get... Knight has the push in mid. Knight can come down quite quickly here.
There'll be a flag and drag angle shortly, makes things a bit spicy. Shun's got people behind the Deadly Flourish, just why they're jumping onto Funguay's got no mana. Flag and drag through the Nico, tries to shape change, but Knight gets the kill. Now on the other side, Tien is low. The deflection's there for a second with that blast shield, but it's not going to matter. Flash from On, tries to get the Gleaming Quill for the extra auto. Jackie's going to go low and will not quite find too much more as the Cassiopeia has to finish up the kill. It's a mess in the river, but BLG are 4 kills to the good.
Knight keeping his HP high allows him to push for that. Now, people might criticize him for missing CS from the first 3 waves, but because he does that, he has the HP to push in mid lane and come down to the fight first. Watch this. Knight manages to come down. That is actually the difference maker here. Cassiopeia is slow on the roam. Funguay had used the flash. He'd used all of his abilities to get the early kill on there, which actually gives a triumph proc over the Shun, which makes things really quite nasty there. Managed to space out quite well. Ends up being a 3 for 2. You know who lives through this fight, Sam, though? The Scuttle Crab. The Scuttle Crab lives. Yeah. So what's happened with the Scuttles? Jumping into mid lane, Cream has no flash.
Burned it to escape from the Dragon Pit, and Knight now is on 3-0 before his first reset.
Now, he would have loved to have a Dark Seal, but he'll take the... I guess he'll take the 3 kills. And this is one of those games that, again, you'll slow down and you'll try to analyze what's happened in the first couple of levels of this. Viper's been left alone in the 1v2. Oh my god, Cream is teleporting. He doesn't have the flash. He's going to have to get a huge play here. The double buffs are there already. Rakan's still back in. Cream, it's not been an early game to really write home about. He's died for the second time. Knight is 3-0-2. Another wave lost the tower. Teleport down. Disaster for top esports.
TP to the wave to try and get something. Won't. It kind of costs Viper some pressure, but they're TPing behind. It's LeBlanc TPing behind.
LeBlanc's teleporting behind. There's a flash on Jackie, but not on Fengyue. He's got the double buff, puts the red buff on. Knight lands the chain, and Jackie, flash or no, I think he's gonna die.
They're going to try and get both. They will certainly find the knockups, and it is absolute disaster. Viper now 3-0. He gets a bit of love after the rest of his team goes mid.
Now, BLG in the early game recently, I don't think have been achieving what they wanted to. TES is going to try and get a Constellation Dragon, but the early game is already 3,000 gold in the advantage for BLG at 6 minutes. That's absurd for them. Between the whole different roles, right? Bin, solo killing top lane, Knight and Shun and On, working as a 3-man unit, gifting the kills back over to Viper, who's also 3-0 now. Poor top esports. They were looking for a statement series to say, we can contend with the top team. BLG say, no, you can't. Early game has been blown out, and at top esports, they're going to have to now batten down the hatches and fight for mid game. We said BLG, they needed to win lane, they needed to win early. They've done just exactly that. Top esports, I think if they get into mid game on even keel, they've got a better comp. They're not getting there at this rate, though, Sam.
Ooh, no, they are not. Definitely a bit of damage back there on tonight. Got trapped on the miasma and eats a lot of DFT damage. Bit rough on that front. Knight coming in with a couple Dark Seal stacks is happy enough on that front. Does come on forwards across the wave. Another ethereal change. It is ethereal change. I was like, I had a moment there where I wasn't sure.
Believe in yourself,
I genuinely second-guessed myself.
Believe in yourself, Sam. If not, believe in the me that believes in you. There's no Max in this game, but yep. Who was the actual main character of that show?
Yeah,
now,
genuinely.
as much as like that's a great quote, the show itself really annoys me because Fengyue's going for the minion play, jumps forwards onto them, gets the knockup, does on.
Yeah, gets rooted on the return though. There'll be some bullets cycling forward, a fourth shot being held. Viper might end up eating this just about out of range. Because now go look for some of those trades, throws out the double daggers with the end of that.
And I think, speaking about top esports, one player who I haven't criticized this split very much from top esports at all is Fengyue. You know, Fengyue is a newer support to top esports. Right here, early game's not worked out. Blew that flash and then died in the bot river fight. And died again, of course. Fengyue has been not having the best of times, right? When Knight, of course, ganked them down in bot side. This is another bad thing here, right? Knight has been able to get wave control, traded a bit of HP to make sure that Cream is over pushing at the same time, and now Knight has complete wave control. Is going to shove it in.
Decent damage there onto Jackulov again. The BF sword plus the slingshot, pretty nasty there for Viper. Again, yes, you are into the Dirk. If you do get those fourth shot combos, that upfront burst from the Jin is still good, but you aren't winning those extended trades right now. Make no mistake about it. Tien has got level 6. Could definitely look to punish here. Cream has got his own ult, so the combos begin to get dangerous from mid jungle.
I'm not even saying like he could look to punish. I think he has to look to punish. I think at this point, with this amount of gold down, Tien needs to be so on point with his next ult, and it probably has to be onto Knight. I think that you let him kind of get out of this early game with the lead, which he has. He's just going to ruin everyone. I mean, he is the best mid laner within the LPL, perhaps the best player in the world. He started off 3-0-4, and again, we already highlighted how actually giving up minions for HP early on has completely won BLG the early skirmishes. On's coming down towards the bot side. No
Onivia 6.
There are flashes on both of them. He's trying to blow them now.
He's very close to 6. They need a minion death for it. They're going to Feather Storm the Pot Blossom. Heal. Flash beyond the Feather Core. But there's the quickness of the minions dying. Finally, Jackie gets knocked up. Can potentially look for the bullet. Does get it through the bush. Viper has not got flash or burst. There'll be a cease and desist. The Shun's now coming on over. Viper gets a fair amount of damage down. And maybe they can trade back onto the Vi. Good shield from the blast shield, but the flag and drag through. The Conqueror is stacked, the Cataclysm's there, and Shun punishes Tien looking for that return kill.
Yeah, the Conqueror got stacked, and at that point you realize, okay, Jarvan actually beats the Vi in the 1v1, especially at this point. Good timing from Shun, although we did say Tien needed to be there to punish. Does at least get the kill, the assist onto Viper, leads up to the kill. Jackulov gets some gold back, means that Viper is not completely beyond the horizon. The Xayah in this comp already scales hilariously well, Sam. There are too many people that he can just ult through, whether that's Fengyue or Tien, and just insta-kill them on the return. Now, it's not as much of a problem for the Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is actually quite good into Xayah on the whole, and see that Cream is going to try and burst him down as best he can. But particularly for the Vi and this Nico, if this Xayah gets to an early 2 to 3 items, it is just game over for them.
Rub's about to be have just spawned, but going to be about to be contested over. Bin is up about 1,000 gold top side. Are we going to fight over this? They might want a grub or two. BLG at the minute, I think we're just interested in zoning Cream out of the mid lane more than anything else. On, looking for an angle, doesn't find it.
There's Knight, who's the more scary person here, dodges out on 1Q, and they have to back off. Gets the mark down. He had a bit of a chunk onto him. 1v1 between the AD carries now. Viper has the level advantage. Hits the W.
Does manage to hit the potential 4th shots, though, as last shot coming on forwards puts Viper real low. Jackie's got flash, won't look for it.
Scary as hell. Yeah, turns out Wazai doesn't have ult. About half a champion, so kind of needs that ultimate in a lot of those scenarios. Now, Viper typically very good at laning in 1v1s. This is something which On in interviews was talking about in regards to Viper, where Viper will play the 1v1 out so effectively that it allows On to roam. Now, Jackulov, the problem is he is just so good in general that it's not quite a solid factor that Viper will win a 1v1 in the AD carries. We saw, in fact, I think it was between them in the last round matchup where we saw them kind of go 1-for-1 in those AD carry 1v1s in the first round robin. I think that was the game where we had like a misfortune kind of play back then. It's very close in that. Knight's going to stop the recall. Does manage to do so. That takes a turret shot to do so. But yeah, Viper tested in the 1v1. Doesn't die, but loses some pressure.
Yeah, just back to the Storm Razor. There's a quickness actually if you look in it. TN now in danger. The Pop Blossom to try and turn this around, but the Cataclysm to try and buffer through that blast code. Gets on the wrong side of that, needs to queue away, and Knight just blows up the Nico, waiting for the flag and drag. Misses Jackie. Can still look to knock up the Cassiopeia. Where's the Miasma? Flash away. Jackie gets on. That making it the 1-for-1 right now. Both supports dying. Captive audience, and the Miasma makes sticking around in that area a little bit too dicey.
Okay, so it ends up being 1-for-1. Both supports go down. Knight picks up the kill, Jackulov on the other. I mean, the Jhin is getting pretty scary, and it's a low tank composition. Cream, you're actually in danger here. Knight's managed to keep the wave on a really good spot, and I think BLG just made the call to say, look, you got camps up. Cream's zoned off for the wave anyway. Knight can hold this away from him forever. He's 1,000 gold up individually. Like, that's going to be fine. So initially, it's the Q cancelling out the W. Kind of, they trade CC for CC. The way that Rakan W works for those that you don't know is that if he reaches his landing location, the knockup will happen. If you interrupt him before that, that's when you cancel the W. So weirdly, he lands, gets interrupted, and then the W comes through because he already reached his location. Knight, great damage check there, but a little bit too far from On. Didn't quite realize the danger he was in, and Jackulov gets that last hit onto him.
Collector value, that is what there is.
Fair play, yeah, fair play. Get the extra 25 gold. Knight's going to recall, going to teleport behind the Dragon Pit most likely. Here he comes. He's going to come in with the empowered boots. Knight is going to one-shot someone, Sam.
That gets really scary. Jackie will be the person to keep your eyes on Flash and Barrier to work with On going forward. The Celestial opposition gets a knock-up onto Jackie. Love needs to bounce away and does so. In goes Shun, looking for the Flash play. Can't quite do it, but Bin goes to the skies. Jackie in danger. Damage onto the Cassiopeia, who does go down, and Bin is just a monster. On gets out, got a blast cone away, survives. Zwian flashes, they get nothing. Billy Gaming, folks, are able to team fight.
BLG, they're going to take all of them, Sam. I think Swian may well die at the other side here. Where's the chain? It's not bad damage from the Cassante chain lands. Q3 actually lands. I don't know, buddy. That's the flash away from Swian. Maybe not biting off more than he can chew. But BLG teleport in with force. And the next thing I was going to say, because I didn't think top laners are actually going to join this fight, is we hadn't seen Bin bring his lead to the rest of the fight yet. Bin's about to get himself a Voltaic Cyclosword. He's got a 1.5k lead before his colors even cashed in. He's having a wonderful game. And the thing we know about BLG is that with all of our issues with them, there is always the threat that the solo lanes come online and the game is just over. They are that good. And this happens not just against LPL teams. This happens against the best teams in the world from anywhere in the world. Knight didn't even get the cleanest combo here, but Viper gets a huge play. Cream dies before he can even ult. The route onto him from Viper was disgusting. And what did we say? The Xayah scaling early is terrible news for top esports. Now that they're going to try and shut down Bin here on the top side.
Doesn't have the flash. Pop Boss is going to land, and he's now realistically in danger. Vault break of Miasma, nowhere really to go. They send 3, make that 4 members, and the damage is done.
It is. They do lose a lot of plates around the rest of the map, though. I believe that's going to be... It's just a single grub from BLG, I believe it is, on here. But they're pushing in both mid and bot lanes. They're trading 1 lane of farm and XP for 2. But they do get that big kill onto the Jace.
Does manage to find TN there with the quickness to knock up the roots afterwards, and that's just a dead Vi. That's just not it. Knight's down bot lane, trading out here as well. They get loads of pressure in 2 lanes, plus the kill back. So Bin's death comes at heavy cost. The overload is coming with significant price now. The curtains are called, but I don't think BLG are particularly interested in taking a bow.
No, and again, we return back to this point of if the Xayah gets items early, top esports are in trouble. We see it again there because it means that the follow-up damage in the CC chain from the Xayah, who is also pretty much one of the only crit carries that brings significant CC to her kit in a way that, like, she can tank kill, but also kind of guarantee that extra CC on target, it becomes such a problem for top esports because Tien's going to die very quickly. Even Suyan's going to die very quickly if he's caught out without his W and Viper's in range. He has 2 items at 14 minutes. That's far more than you expect at this point. Knight gets the full turret, will spot out Tien. Maybe needs to be a little bit afraid of Fengyue coming around the corner. Will be respectful here, though. 8 stacks on the Dark Seal, wants to keep them alive. Viper keeps shoving in mid lane, and top esports, the problem is, we highlighted this just before, right? They're losing out on A lane of farm every time they group up and look for these plays.
Quick note to European fans as well. So anyone who's going to the LEC road trip, I think I saw them in chat. It was Nymaera was in chat, who is going to bring a load of the LPL trading cards to the LEC road show. So obviously big LPL audience here. I suspect a few LEC fans as well. In fact, there they are in chat right now. Hello, hello, hello. Drop them a line if you want those LPL trading cards. They'll be on the road trip apparently.
And that'll be in Paris. So if you're going over to Paris, link up. It's very cool. Let's get some LPL fans internationally linking up. It'd be really cool. And that's a very cool thing you're doing there, Nami, as well. I hope you enjoy yourself. Nami also hit Masters playing Akali recently too, so congratulations there. Taking after Knight themselves. Okay, so back into game here. 7,000 gold lead for BLG. They have been known to throw bigger leads than this, and they do have a squishy composition. Problem is for top esports is that if Cream isn't in the perfect position, and if Jackie Love doesn't get a boatload of damage down onto the first target, I do think that BLG still just blow you up with the remaining 4 members.
Yeah, the problem is, well, like, Jackie's done well. Problem is, Viper's now 5-1-6, is ahead in farm again, has got Storm Razor Flicker Blades for all of the cooldown, all of the move speed differential.
That's the big thing. The second thing which you mentioned there, the move speed is the big thing, because if you go Storm Razor on Zai, which hasn't always been the most common item on her, back when Storm Razor meta was a thing for Kai'Sa Zai back in 2018, when LPL won MSI for the second time, but the first time since the Korean era of dominance, really. Actually, no, 2015 counts that. Whatever. Anyway, they broke that Korean era of dominance. Teleport coming through. Let's see how Viper can use those items to try and dodge out the skill shots and reposition.
Okay, so there's the reset. Pop Blossom, flash on in. They do get one onto Shun, but the turnaround is immediate from On, who's Rakan, denies the engage. The Featherstorm means Tien doesn't get what he's looking for. Couple big ults burned, though. The Featherstorm is down, as, however, is the Pop Blossom. Big Shock Blast lands onto Jackie Love. They're going to keep playing.
So you've got the Cataclysm. That's the big cooldown. Vi still has ultimate, it looks like, which I'm a bit surprised that they're actually Swear's left alone. That's a bad position for him to be in.
Does get the Herald, though, does top esports. And realistically, more importantly, it'll be the side of that Vi Tien picking that one up. We go into the enemy jungle now from BLG, hunting for a little bit more. Vault Breaker charged up by Tien. Can he find the angle in? Can't. Knight gets over the wall. Shun follows.
Yeah, BLG were just looking for the inside track on mid lane to push in another wave there. Losing the Herald is big. I mean, top esports can use that to potentially get an objective bounty somewhere on the map. I don't think they can get mid lane. I don't think they can really push in for a full kill on that tower, but just getting one of these side lane objectives to get an objective bounty would be valuable in itself.
Worth noting, of course, that Dragon spawning in 20 seconds, so maybe could be a Battle Herald here as well. Keep your eyes on one. Viper will have Flash Barrier, but no Featherstorm, and Tien holding on to that cease and desist could be quite a significant breakpoint.
Knight's doing decent damage to Suyan already. The thing which I'm really scared of for top esports is we don't actually have the anti-tank items in Truly yet. The Black Cleaver's there, but we have Flat Pen on Bin. We have Flat Pen on Knight. You do get a bit of percent pen from the boots, you do, but it's not quite the same as having something like a Void Staff. And of course, Viper has only just built his last Whisper. This is going to get a lot worse before it gets better for top esports. The third item is going to kill him. Here comes the Blanc. Cream does have the flash.
The Vi just reset. The Vi just reset. She left. She left. She was in the bush, and Cream is now no longer safe. Knight gets the kill.
I think they realized they were probably dying there. I think they realized let's give up 1 kill, not 3, because they had Vi and Nico both in the area there at that point. I think they just realized, look, we probably do just have to leave that, take the 1 kill instead of, the 1 death instead of losing more, trade for the Dragon. They're going to go towards that. BLG won't get the huge explosive play, but they will still get one. They'll still get a turret. It's still a good play for BLG.
And it's more stacks for Knight. He's now 508. And would you look at that ring, folks?
Oh my god, yeah, 10 stacks. Well, Bin's going to get jumped on here. 3-man collapse.
Oh, trying to return the favor. He's still pretty strong. Does have the flash. He's going to get the opportunity. That CC chain is ridiculous. Goes to the skies. Does go down. Was not expecting that many members and that much CC. But again, I'm just point that out. It cost them 2 waves crashing into their tier 2s.
That's another big thing. Look, BLG farming the map. I just look back at that playing top lane because there's a little bit skew if on it. But basically, like, they threw out the Nico clone and they realized, okay, we can't get there in time. Because this is the Nico clone here, just the replay again. So basically, no, they're not going to be there in time. They're not going to be there in time. They realized, let's be honest, we're probably dying. They have a ton more gold. On puts down the exhaust. He does the double backstep where it's like, first one, does it on the second one, ends up baiting out the ultimate. Cream dies, and he's had an awful game here on the Cassiopeia. Now, I think that Cream has been on great form this split. Last week or two, though, have been games to forget. He has been struggling.
It's the one again. They've managed to get Bin a couple times now, but it's not put him behind. It's not put anyone else ahead. And he's not bothered burning anything like the Flash either. And again, it cost you 2 waves into 2 tier 2s.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Bin has just said, I'm going to keep my Flash because it's going to be more important for like a upcoming Dragon fight. He's just about to get himself his Muramanos, a big item completion for the Jace there too. Again, Viper waiting on his own, what I assume to be Lord Dominic's regards. I don't think you need to go for the anti-heal in this game. I mean, yes, the Cassante has it while he's in all out, but may as well get the extra damage on the Xayah with that Lord Dominic's regards. You see Shun checking Tien. Shun's had a great game on the job.
Yeah,
he has had a great game. Now, in terms of like overall performance, I'd say it's probably solo laners then Shun, but then Shun, it's still like an 8, 9 out of 10 game from him too. We might actually.
Oh, Jackie.
Jackie almost gets one shot by Knight.
Can't get involved. Potentially could curtain call, and that'd be something. Deadly throws from Miles with the flag and drag, make sure the Fongyue is dead. The 2-man W into the all-out onto On, but he can still just battle dance away, and all the while, look at the other side. Tien and Cream are annihilated by the firepower of BLG, who may fire when ready, and it turns out that battle station is fully operational.
To borrow a quote from G2 Perks back in like 2019, turns out BLG aren't just here to win, they're here to traumatize, Sam. This is not an okay League of Legends game, Sam. This is our first ranked team versus our second rank in the standings. This does not look like first versus second. This looks like schooling a team which is just not up to speed. Fungyue is going to walk up towards the top side. There's no smite though. It's going to be a hand back to free Jackie. Get solo killed. Knight gonna have to walk away from Fungyue. He will give up the kill to Fungyue. Will die to that, but he takes down the AD carry. First death of the game. At least it's a good pickup for the Nico.
Yeah, tried to get out. Took a little bit more work than I think he was hoping for. Gets the flash out of Jackie Love, actually, which is fairly significant here. We'll look again. Distort 1, Distort 2 is half of Jackie's health bar, and things got real dicey. This is that replay where things started to go very wrong.
Like we said, basically, if the follow-up of the Cassiopeia and the the Jim is not in position at the right time, they just don't have the damage. Knight uses his first full rotation to basically take the Jin out of the fight. Comes back around the second point when Shun's locked down the targets. Shun and On are picking out targets magnificently well. And a huge shout out to Viper as well, who's been in position to do damage every single fight. It's quite hard to do so as the Xayah all the time. As a lower range AD carry, he has been on the mark every fight so far.
Cream at least picks up a turret there. First of the game for Top Esports. Hooray for them. Problem is these tier 2s are beginning to fall. That one in mid lane now gone. Jackie's 3 and 4. And I don't think Jackie's even played that poorly. No. Arguably, he's been the best player on the team.
No, I think realistically this game fell apart. The bot lane skirmish and the solo kill in top lane. I think with Bin getting ahead individually and then the rest of the team just destroying Top Esports in, what was it, a 3-for-1?
Yeah.
Overall in that bot side. The game kind of ended there. So if you want to learn more about this game, slow down the first 5 minutes of the game. Notice how Knight traded CS to have more HP to fight early. The fight over the Scuttle Crab came in and it looked really on point. That was actually something they got wrong in first stand finals against G2. They did better against it here a lot. That's a charming one.
The quickness puts Fongyue very low. Battle dance away. The quickness comes back on down. Zuyan is forced to try and footwork away. Tien's also left at about 10% HP. The Petrifying Gaze goes wide. Knight hunting. Distort number 1. Gets hit by the Pop Blossom. Could potentially hop back. Got a stopwatch to buy some time. The Deadly Flourish does not stop the Distort. So Tien still falls all out. Blastco puts Knight into a horrible. He can still go back. That Distort was still available for him. And he manages to survive. The curtains get called. But Viper and crew can body block. This turret will go down. And Jackie just calls it off. Show's over, folks.
Viper pulls out the ult there for reasons, I suppose. And Knight, yeah, I mean, you've heard of one distortion, but Sam, what about a second one? What do you mean you haven't heard of second distortion? I don't think they do that here, Pip. So manages to go into, I mean, we'll get a replay of that almost certainly. It's really well played by Knight. He knows he has the threat. He plays with his life on the line there and knows that BLG realistically have the follow-up to make it through into the rest of it. It has been a game to remember from Knight. Oh, Fungyue, he's going to just die straight out here. Well, he says, well, you know, this whole point about you killing me, I took that personally. Fungyue is actually the only person to kill Knight this game, and he's making sure he's giving him a hefty price for that. Does get a good play onto him at the start of it. Does manage to force out the Zhonyas. Can't quite get the CC chain. very, very linearly gets that. The first distort times out, but he's loaded up his Mimic, and that allows him to jump forwards, get the chain down, gets dragged out from the all-out, but the Mimic's still there. His W's back off cooldown because he's so high level and has so much cooldown reduction, gets out scot-free.
Wall jumps onto Jackie 11. Jackie's just dead. Tien's waiting to see whether someone hops back where they shouldn't, but he won't. Knight needs to be a bit careful here. They've still got the Zonyas. They can try and pop blossom after. The quickness will likely follow, though. Knight does go down. TP comes in, but again, your AD carries dead. You have to burn everything to make it a 1-for-1. And now
Funguo's
Funguo's going to go as well.
He has no flash. The Nico goes down. The amount of cooldowns they need to kill Knight, the amount of attention he requires means that BLG has a scot-free game elsewhere. They don't have to worry about the Vi ultimate, the Q, the Nico ult. Knight has sold his life dearly now this second time, loses some Dark Seal stacks, but he doesn't have the full Magi's. It's not like he's losing tons of stacks. He's still getting tons of gold as well by just taking Jackalov off the board.
Hilariously, Funguo's already got the kill again.
Yep. Sam, that's why he has an 800 gold lead. He got like the 1,000 gold shutdown onto him. So this is actually like a 2-item Nikos. Much more than model support Nikos would normally get. BLG, 10,000 gold lead. And so much of it just comes from that early game snowball. For those of you who perhaps missed some of the parts of the start of BLG's journey in the LPL, realistically around 2023 and then 2024. Of course, we're now a couple of years removed from that. BLG at the start of their journey in 23 were like a scrappy skirmish team. They had Yagao in the mid lane at that point too. And it took Tabe really reining them in to say, all right, controlled aggression at the right points, making sure you're moving as a unit, not just individual plays. And they went from halfway through spring 23, like being a 1-for-1 team where they go 1-on-1 every week into a team that beat what was a super team of Weibo at that point, went to finals of MSI, and of course in 24, that's when Knight came in and we saw the real modern iteration of BLG come to form, where they would just brutalize you in through lane and through early game, and it just felt so unfair to play against this team. 25, we missed a bit of that. It feels like we're getting that 2024 BLG stomp you until you give in kind of team.
There's a bit of that Funguo right on the flank angle here. Could look at Viper, but that is not the easiest target with all his summoners in the ult available. Might catch someone out here, but I don't think Shun is your primary target. I'm surprised you got away with that. Baron's 50 seconds. The reset needs to come at some point. It's desperation stations, and your Nico is a long way from home.
Yeah, this is the problem now. He's actually too far away from them to do anything, and there are actually wards between them. I think BLG probably know the Nico is trying something. They just don't know where yet.
Proper.
It legitimately is. In fact, if anyone wants, whenever he's coming up as a
Viper has to go for the Featherstorm. It's Funguo. They managed it. Viper's in danger. Does have a Pop Blossom to try and turn this. He's still not dead. Finally falls. The Nico gets the kill because of course she does. But now the problem is the rest of the fight is the rest of BLG being real angry about the death of their AD carries. Blank. Successful?
Sam, I just saw a Nico go on prop hunt for like a full minute and it loses them the game. They kill Viper, but oh, that might be the funniest Nico play I've ever seen, Sam. Oh god, Funguo, you can't blame him for trying. I actually think Funguo has had a pretty okay game. It just doesn't matter. Baron's gonna go down. That's gonna take BLG towards the dragon coming up next. It won't be Infernal Soul. They've lost a couple of dragons across the part of it. No, Viper does a great ultimate. That is a reaction flash to die for. Gets it away from the Q flash. If that had hit, I think probably Tien lives for a little longer. Maybe not quite as long, but you can just see that Viper. If you give him any room to auto attack, someone is dying. That is the power of a Xayah that's scaled. We don't get to see that much Xayah anymore because she doesn't survive laning phase. This is a great angle for it. I think BLG in 23 and 24, particularly 24 and 25 actually, we're going to note there's a bad drafting team. I don't think that's nearly the same case anymore. They've had a couple of bad drafts, but I think Danny, credit to him, he's a coach who I think has done incredible work on BLG to make them have much more potent drafts.
I will also say, On was a second off, managing to interrupt TM before he got to press R with the quickness. Didn't quite do it, but that would have broken the combo, and suddenly I think Viper would have been a lot happier with the game state and being able to play that one out. Either way, though, Viper's now managed to get himself towards that fourth item. I see an Infinity Edge in inventory, and that should be pretty damn scary alongside that Lord Dominic regards. Doesn't have flash, doesn't have barrier. A lot of summoners down across the board from pretty much everyone not named Bin. In fact, he's the only player with a flash up that I can see right now. No, Queen's got it as well. There we go. So one on either side. But either way, 31 kills to 9. We know what kind of game BLG have been playing, and largely it has led to the death of top esports on a regular basis.
Okay, so BLG now just looking for the death blow. You got the 4th item there from Viper, as we've been talking about. He's, oh my god, yeah, the Kassante's not a tank to the Zaya.
Hang on might go a little low. They're going to cease and desist, but he's been dragged 30 miles in the wrong direction, and that is a long way from home. Fongyue just goes golden, has the extra gold to get towards the arm guard, but so of course does Knight, who gets stuck on top of the miasma, will be able to hop away. The 4-shot lands. Knight goes back in. Knight, what are we doing? Petrifying Gaze lands afterwards, and now actually should might be endangering Cream. Importantly gets that kill. That Knight, you could say buying a black. Okay, buys the med guys. Bye.
So the thing is, if actually anyone gets, say, an assist after he dies there, or gets a kill, he would get the assist for it. Knight double tap doubly. Look, it's happened to the best of us. He is still 14-3, folks. He's still almost going to get away with, like, almost a 10 KDA by the end of this game, which, by the way, that's been his average. Ridiculous, man. That's what it takes for top esports to get an extra kill onto him. He's just had a wonderful split, hasn't he? I mean, I know that he makes the mistake there, but still. Both him and Viper, incredible play. Now, BLG, the promise of the super team in this year, and it is a super team when you bring Viper, the best AD carry of 25, with the best solo laners arguably in the world on their form, in Bin and Knight. This is what you get between them. You know, we didn't quite get the super team as was promised, really, throughout a lot of this year from BLG. Even at first stand, I don't think BLG were at peak. It was fantastic play from them, don't get me wrong. But I think that there was still an upper level to Viper, who I think in this game is showing what he's really capable of on champions like the Zaya. Stuff like his Kaiser occasionally comes out too, which I'd love to see that meta come back a little bit more. BLG, though, I've been pretty happy with how they've allowed Viper to play 1v1s and just scale around the rest of the map philosophically. BLG 14k up. Baron just ending away now. 4 minutes until the next dragon. They won't have any more waves to work with the Barons. They'll have to be stalled out a little bit now. Top esports batten down the hatches and just trying to think of any way to problem solve through this.
Very challenging. There's the cleanse. On gets a little bit CC, but he backs away from the Petrifying Gaze. And the thing is, the Rakam from ahead is so difficult because you can't blow him up when he just runs away. Viper steps toward the deadly plumage. The shock blast is an inch off, taking Cream's skull/skin. In goes on with the quickness. TN needs to flash away. Just about gets away with it, but Top Esports left wondering and reeling as Zuyan just ain't tanky in the front line. The Aftershocks timed out. The Pop Blossom's there, but it might be too little too late. The GA might be broken from shoot, but no, not quite yet. LeBlanc brings down a couple more. A double to Knight, who's hopping around. Cream flashing to get to the wave, but Knight is still there. Golden we go, but there's a feather caller. And that'll be the final member of Top Esports falling. It takes a second or two longer, but it was never in doubt from the early game. A 16,000 gold lead for Billy Gaming, who traumatized Top Esports in game 1.
It all snowballs from just that first bot lane fight. It feels like BLG, give them an inch, they take the whole game. It is just one of those. Now it's a 0.75 cast time rather than a 0.5. Makes it much easier to avoid. Let's get into game 7. The gyros will ring out.
Oops, the mics got cut there. That's unfortunate. Top Esports were mid-cheering, I promise you. They are there in force, but bot lane, very aggressive level 1 trading. Both AD carries left a little bit worse for wear. Barrier and heal burned by both duos. Worth noting, though, that On took a little bit more damage than Fongyue, but I think both bot laners, in terms of the AD carries, on about even HP there. Nothing crazy with the runes. Both mid laners going Deathfire Touch. Everyone else running the expected runes. Of course, the Ambassador tends to electrocute into the Gnar for those better burst trades against the mini Gnar.
Okay, so Jaculov and Fongyue getting good trade down here. Shun going for his bot side clear. Sometimes he goes bot side, recalls for a longsword, and then goes back out onto the map. That's something which he's really specialized in. Top Esports. See what that Lee Sin does. Went Raptors and, of course, went down to his bot side. So BLG don't have great info on Lee Sin right now, but he is actually in bot lane very early. Here comes Shun.
Ooh, he's just flashed from Fongyue, and that's going to be a problem because he can flash over the wall, and now Jackie's in danger. Has to flash himself. When's the next Q? Has nearly got his passive stacked as well, and there's the kill. Fongyue with no flash. It's bot lane disaster again. The Q lands onto one, though, and now TN can look to turn it around. The Q from Shun went wide, but we'll have another passive to work with. Gets one back. It's going to be the 2 for 2 here, nearly guaranteed, but Shun's got Conqueror stack. This makes it a bit more spicy, but there is the cripple and the Tempest Strike, and TN gets the double to match.
She had also had Conqueror stacked. He's like, nah, you're not getting away with this one. You can't one-shot from that HP. Great read by TN. Starts on his Raptors on vision, and then says, well, I'm going to leave Raptors, and you don't know where I've gone. They didn't know that Lee Sin would be there on that timing. It's a 2 for 2. I mean, I suppose it's the Lucian which ends up living, but he doesn't get any of the kill participation. Gets 1 assist out of that. Jaculov doesn't get anything on the other side, I suppose, either. Viper keeps his flash, the only one there now in bot lane.
Yeah, well, On's got his as well, actually. So to be fair, both of BLG's bot laners holding those summoners, and that's quite a big deal because I think at this point, the ability to punish will be quite strong. It's not the best reset that I think the Yunara was looking for. And that's going to be slightly problematic. Of course, Shun did back, got those triple longswords, can keep farming. He's kind of okay and still in the game. In fact, because he got first blood, he's still up in gold here.
Yeah, Knight getting pushed in mid lane again. The first few levels of Onivia versus Ryze aren't the easiest. It's really later on when you get that Glacial Storm and Ryze can't really stand and DPS. That's when you start to get more control. It's gone for the Death Fire touch here, no surprises. One of the reasons why Onivia is really strong in both mid lane and top lane now, with just that extra burn put into the combo. Top lane, been doing fine against Suyam, and that Ambessa will need to somehow survive. Bin's Gnar, one of the best champions and best players of it in the world.
Yeah, looking for that electrocute trade, does get it. Nice to pick that up in the mini Gnar where you can. Gonna hop over here into the Tri-Brush and look to reset. There is a Lee Sin around, actually. This could get a bit interesting. The ward comes down and Ben will throw a boulder out that does tag Zuyan. Of course, Tien took a bit of a weird path because of his attempt to get bot side, which is nice and all, but it's kind of put his camps on a slightly weird timer. Still needs to pick up that first red buff and has got the Tunneler on his first back, which is lovely in terms of his upfront damage, a bit of HP, all the good things. See where that all leads to as things roll on. Shun also left his red buff behind. Is going to do Raptors, Krugs, and then pick up red buff last. All his camps rather, are on good timers. Bot side, Scuttle Crab still up. There's a ward on it as well. Tien, I think, will likely go towards it. Are we going to get a contest over this crab or this red buff from Shun? We'll see.
More interested to see what's going to happen with these. Well, BLG haven't got the straight lane domination this time, do they? I mean, the bot lane's doing fine, but mid and top lane really want to see when they get into the game. Top esports, there's a bit of a sigh of relief for them right now as Tien is spotted heading down towards that bot lane on that ward just outside the Scuttle Crab. Do they bait him in for attention? Going to kick towards that, and Tien will probably know he's been rumbled at this point.
And there's the ward, so Shun's a known quantity as well, so both junglers going to have to sort of give up on that attempted look in for various things. Ward's going down. Mid lane might be an interesting one. Lee Sin is coming here, but of course he's not going to be here for a little bit. That means Cream is going to have to ghost to get out of there. Knight was left a little low, but did manage to crystallize off Cream's attempted retreat path briefly. Not going to find anything in this jungle.
If the Onivia Q lands, that's when things go a bit skew. If they're clean feed, having a little bit of wobble, we're just going to refresh that, and hopefully that will sort itself out. Hopefully, anyway. Let me, in fact, just change over to the server and just hope things are fine there. All right, let's get into it. Looks like nothing's really happened there, although he is currently just hanging around mid lane.
Yeah, again, Knight does have the passive. Maybe he was thinking about going over the back of the wall. Knight warded out the Raptor camps. That'll be why that got stopped down. Nearly trapped Cream under the turret. That doesn't quite happen. There will be a shard of ice that clears up a ward or two. Frostbite, sorry.
Almost managed to catch Cream under the turret there. He's using the Vancouver Onivia skin, which is the one which Froggen was very famous for in the past too. Shout out Froggen, the greatest Onivia player of all time. I don't think anyone's going to contest that. He was the true bird master. Knight, as we said, first career game on the champion. He's played a whole bunch of champions, but this one's never made itself into his champion pool until now. Been good catch of the stun there. Suyam's actually losing this trade pretty heavily. Misses the Q2 as well.
Repudiates there. Doesn't find as much as they're looking for. The public execution lands on down. Mini Gnar now around. That gets a bit spicy. The hyper proc's there, but of course your melee rangers are Gnar. The electrocute proc. Flash away. Last auto, and Zuyan has to get out of there.
And that was a trade without the Mega Gnar being used. Suyan used his as a flash for flash, but as we said, Bin Gnar, scary old champion, Sam. Shun about to hit himself his level 6 off of this camp. We'll take that just before the level at the Scuttle Crab. Actually, we'll have that a little early into the game.
They'll know he's there because there was a ward on the entrance into the Raptor pit from the side of top esports. They'll have an idea that Shun is around, and that's the reason Cream was just leaning bot side there, kind of looking to defend in case it was a very aggressive Pantheon ult to interrupt bot lane resets.
Yeah, Viper coming down towards bot lane. And yeah, I think as soon as they know the level 6 is coming in at that camp, they know where he can be in the next 30 seconds. Both mid lane and bot lane start to back off, something you need to be very aware of. I keep pointing back to this one game, but T1 versus KT in this split, first game of their their regular season games. Really good example of two teams fighting over vision control when they know that a lot of globals will determine the game. Stuff like that, getting a ward onto Pantheon just as it hits level 6, means you know where it can be put. It means that you don't have to play respectful where it can't be on the other side, you know? Gives you some breathing room across the map.
Hence why Zuyan full sent topside, basically, though Bin getting away with it as well. It's quite telling. Has also gone towards the early cull here, so looking to just say, look, my job here, knowing where attention's going to be, is to get as much value out of this lane as I can.
Yeah, and that's Been on Gnar. You can just do that. Farm up to the point where you're like 2-3 items. Very few things stand up to Gnar in side lanes consistently. Good Q there onto Jackulov as Culling will get pulled out. Not that valuable, actually.
You have to backstep a little bit there if people were looking in the river. We looked, though, as Rian was looking to roam on down. The Aegis sort of comes on down, over comes Onivia as well. And this gets a bit spicy. Remember, there's no flash. That means the wall comes down, trying to lacerate around, but will find nothing, and Knight gets a kill.
So it's a kill for the Dragon. Creepy is Knight. New champion, same lane dominance, same ability to get out onto the map early. Knight, well, I say the lane dominance is actually behind there, but the same ability to get out on the map early, that one stands true. So he gets himself that first kill. That'll get him towards an earlier rower. He's going up too far now, though. Was he... Hang on, did they spot the Lee Sin there?
I don't know if they did. Knight's now in danger. Crystallizes Cream away. Flashes out briefly. There'll be ability to kick back, and that's now just going to be Knight going down. Gets the Glacial Storm, but is about to fall the ground. Starfall makes it a bit spicier. See whether they want to re-engage. They do. Knight does not get the chance to come out of the egg, and he's scrambled.
Yeah, Shun can't save him there. I think Knight thought that Shun would be closer with the ultimate or more on time. He takes a long time to get there. Just out of range. Knight goes down, and Justy picks up a kill, loses one on the other side. I was wondering if they'd fully seen him. I think they did know about that because they had the ward on the Raptors. I think Tien was seen walking around. I think that's just Shun being late to the play. I'm going to watch the replay of that because that one's quite confusing.
Let's see what the decision making was there, and why exactly Knight decided to take that play and the way that he did. Worth noting again, Viper got to stick around a lot longer before going for his resets. So he's got a little bit more AD to his name here than Jackulov does, and is now actually up a fair chunk of CS after all of the early shenanigans. And for the, I don't know, debates we've been having about the form of Viper and On as an aggressive duo in bot lane, right now, doing very well over the last 2 games. Up a fair amount of CS. Tien is around topside with Cream. There's a Realm Warp angle, and Bin is kind of aware that some threats could be happening. Knight's roaming up the river, but he's potentially at risk of being dived on himself.
Well, no one's really in the area for him. Bin is going to be jumped onto. Here comes Shun as well.
Everyone's here. The Flash Frost's in alongside the shield bot, and Tien needs to flash away, but he's 3-0 and dead. Bin goes low, though, and Zuian trades well, but he's now caught with the Glacial Storm. Gets to repudiate shield, but Shun will just stun him up again with the shield vault. An additional Flash Frost and a Frostbite brings down the Ambessa.
Yeah, Shun on the Pantheon has been so terrifying in this early game. Was counter-ganked by Lee Sin early, but you can see the value of that point-and-click stun. The trading and bot lane gets heavy too. BLG gets Sam. They're getting out the better from this early game again. It's still a huge lead from them throughout the ensemble top side of the map. Cream does have himself a slight lead over Knight from those assists. And then, of course, the CS advantage that Ryze can get early on versus the Onivia before she really gets lane dominance later on. Top Esports, they can't afford to let this league go any bigger, Sam. This is not an easy comp to play into a Onivia late game.
No, it's not. They've got Tien around bot side, but he's a known quantity. The Culling's already burned Feng Yue and Jackie low, but have got their own ults to work with. Viper could be in danger here, but Shun's also around, and Tien goes, oh no, not again. They're going to try and get the Vigilant passive, and that's the PTA. Jackie just about gets away with it. There is a heal and a wild growth, so he's probably safer than perhaps you expect him to be.
The heal is actually a couple of seconds off cooldown, so that one's actually gone. Again, the HUD's actually a little bit lengthy there. Hang on, Shun jumping onto Tien. They're quite close in terms of damage, actually. Kick away. The Shun got the good trade first.
Worth noting, still on vision. Comet Spear just wide. Knight at half HP was traded on very aggressively. Been nearly at Mega Gnar. Flash is not quite up top side, makes it a bit spicy. Boulder toss into a potential wallop. There'll be a Mega Gnar to follow. Indeed there is, and that poor Ambessa is not having fun. Last couple autos. Flash, follow, and the kills there from Bin. Solo kill to the greatest top laner in the LPL.
Again, Tien's going to head top side. Ward hops to get onto the blast cone. Is spotted here. Would need another bit of mobility. Can't quite get in range. Bin will have the hop back soon. Can he ward hop over? Tien's going to see if he greeds for the wave, but Bin doesn't quite now. And Tien will show. Trying to stop that recall. Teleport coming up from the Onivia. They'll just hand over waves for a little bit. Bin, his Gnar, best in the world, Sam. It's very hard to see off. And right here, with a solo kill, Suian's going to be in a very difficult spot from this point.
Yeah, and again, I'm still not entirely sold on the Sundered Sky Lee Sin in this era. I think the Eclipse is almost always better, it feels like, with what you're trying to do. Otherwise, go for something like the Neferi or not Neferi, or the Shinzao, something like that. The Sundered Sky, I get it. You don't really have a great frontline. You want a bit of healing into some of these kind of burstier CC comps. I see that thought process, but at that point, why are we going for the Lee Sin? I get there was a lot of stuff banned out. Perhaps I'm over-egging it there. It's not like Sundered Sky is a bad item on Lee Sin. I think generally speaking, when we've seen the Lee Sin get success, it is with those kind of Eclipse snowball angles into a game. Shun is topside, stacking up his pass, and remember Zuian doesn't have that flash anymore, so does have to be a bit aware of trying to trade out this turret. It's just making sure that Bin gets the ability to get this wave in, and the reset comes in through.
Now, it is worth noting as well, folks, BLG win this game, they solidify first place in regular season. The only way they don't get first is by losing both their remaining series. A win in either of them would have done it for them, and I think it was not in question of them winning one of them. I mean, I suppose Top East was an AL. They can be very strong teams, and BLG have been known to slip up in regular season every so often. But this split, I mean, there have been some points where like, oh, BLG, they're falling off. They lost to NIP. They lost to Top Esports. They're still 10-2, folks. I mean, coming back from first stand, they're still decidedly the best team in the LPL. Cream was just hanging around waiting to see if there was a Realm Warp angle. Big roam up towards topside, though, leaves Viper to get solo turret bot side. He has had an exceptional series. His Xayah was just off of getting MVP for me, Sam. Incredible play from him. And now he's 1,000 gold up on Jaculov. He's over 30 CS up. I don't even think that Jaculov and Fungo have been playing that badly. I think BLG have just played to isolate winning matchups well.
I want to recall one of those talking points we had before any gameplay we've seen today, and it was that actually, hey, if there was an angle for Top Esports to find a weak link in BLG, maybe it was through the fact that BLG don't play way through bot side, that actually Viper and On have not been about that 2v2. Today they have been, and that's looking really good. We probably have to turn our eyes to the top side, though.
Okay,
Realm Warp, real deep. The Realm Warp comes in, but the Crystallize is there to make things pretty spicy. Bin will likely fall. In comes the Grand Starfall. It's a little late from Shun. 5 members strong up here. The Flash Frost lands onto Jaculov. Cream left a little low. Knight also being chunked out, though. Goes down into the Exarch of Ruin lands. This is a bit ugly, guys. What's happening? BLG lose 2, and suddenly it all goes a bit wrong. Both solo laners dead.
They are. Knight overstaying a bit there. Maybe thinking that Emilio Q would keep him safe, but Cream just DPS checks. Viper is solo farming mid, but from all we were just praising BLG, it's not quite as simple as that now, is it?
No, it is not. They were very significantly ahead. They give up some big kills there. Zuian getting that public execution. I think they thought they could punish, but it doesn't quite work. Tian's not going to look at this one. Viper does a lot of damage. Might just kill this one off. The Flash is so slick. He's got a massive cozy campfire. Dodges away again, and Viper's just better.
Viper is tearing out the heart of Top Esports. So often BLG has been about solo laners, and then kind of bot lane is a bit of a consolation for them. Not in this game, Sam. Not in this series. Viper is really coming back to the fore. What a play from the AD carry BLG.
Of course, the issue here will still remain, though, that Knight and Bin are now behind in gold, which is never a state that BLG are particularly happy about. Knight's fair showing on the Onivia. Bin a little lackluster, perhaps to say. It's not been the dominance we perhaps come to expect from a player of the caliber of Knight, let's be fair. And Bin's got the solo kill, but down a little bit of gold, gets a bit dicey. Jumping onto Cream, though, who will maybe have to flash here. Meganard takes a lot of damage from the Hyperprocs. Another one comes on down, misses the overload, and he does have to flash.
It does, damn. Bin no flash to follow. Cream, one more hit of the Hyper at this level would have killed him. Rank 3 of the Hyper. Teleport now being forced out of the Ambassador, but not before another plate. Another 2, in fact, go the way of Bin, I believe, there overall. Good gold to him. You know, did die in that last time, hasn't cashed in his cull just yet, but you know, eventually this ticking time bomb of the Nart is going to be a huge threat. He's still in a very scary position. Herald's going to go down, and while Top Esports did manage to get a kill onto Knight and onto Bin, who, I'm sorry, but Knight's KD is actually to take quite a hit actually from this game out, with just the 2 deaths onto him. It's not quite the 10 KDA extravaganza that we've had from the rest of the split so far. BLG are still in control here.
Yeah, and again, the other side of this, of course, is the play that happened top took all 5 members and a lot of time to make. Viper got the whole of the bot turret, went mid, got another 2 waves, got 3 plates there, and then Viper wins the 1v2 afterwards to kill off the Lee Sin. Little assistance from On at the end there, but the damage in some ways was done. Like, sure, you got something back, but Top Esports are having to put a lot of resources to get their angles back into the game, and it's not like BLG are letting them go completely cleanly. Now, mid lane is being threatened. TN at 3 and 2, fairly scary. Misses that Sonic Wave. We get slow motion.
Slow-mo replay of that. Gosh, I think basically so many people are watching the stream as the turret goes down.
Viper has to throw down the culling and does a decent job. Flashing for the public execution, but it's only onto the Pantheon. Not the easiest angle. Viper dodges away, and that's a lot of damage. The Wild Growth keeps Suian up and rolling. Cream trying to overload through the backline with the spell flux. Jackie left down about 10% HP. The Ardent Blaze tags TN and no one else.
Yeah, and that was a 5v4 sandwich. Top East was arguably lost. They get the barrier out of Viper. They get some good damage down, but they lose more than they gain and lose a ton of summoners. And while all that is happening, all that's happening, Bin is pushing the top lane. So just for the record, folks, we watched this through on kind of like a private kind of like stream. I think so many people are watching this match that the stream is starting to get a bit overloaded effectively from traffic. That's the way that we've seen it before. We'll try our best to refresh it when we can, get the best out of it. The top esports BLG, well, I hope you're enjoying, because apparently a lot of people are across the world too. BLG, again, 3,000 gold ahead. Bin does have the cull now. He has managed to get that extra gold in pocket. And while Swian on the Ambessa is a threat on Viper, gets the W on target. A lot of people, so I'm just going to backtrack to this, right? A lot of people, when they face Lucian, don't realize how threatening the W is. Because the W is not that high damage. You think, oh, it's just a double tap proc. The scary thing about a Viper, a Lucian when they're ahead, is that if they hit the W, they get the move speed, and then you can't get rid of them. They will just chase you down. Even if an ally of the Lucian hits you at that point, he gets the movement speed to keep chasing you down. W into ultimate is the real scary bit. It's not just the ultimate. You think, oh, I mean, he's missing so much of it, hitting so much of it. He hits so much more of it if he hits his W.
Backstep from Knight means he dodges out on Tien's attempted Sonic Wave, and Tien's had some good moments in this game. The turnaround 2v3 kill bluntly, and that bot lane was really important. Now gets to jump over the wave to his Viper. That is half of that Lulu's health bar with a double tap.
It's Viper, incredible game here on the Lucian. We did say, look, Viper is his chance to be the main character here. We were, you know, mentioning Daney saying that not all 5 players can be main characters in BLG, talking to them like that backstage. This is one of the rare times that BLG have drafted and let Viper be the main carry. And he's doing really well with it. The Xayah was great. The Lucian's been great. I don't think he's been as good a Yunara. I don't think he's been as good a player of something like the Corki all the time. Although Corki's been a little better than it was last year in 25, where he was really struggling on that pick comparative to other meta AD carries. The Xayah and the Lucian, though, some of his best champions of all time, and he's been pulling out some classic performances for the husband of AD carries here in LPL.
Yeah, and the other side of that, of course, is Zuian, who had such an incredible first series against Bin, but now he's not really been able to find the good counter picks. The standard lanes have not been as pretty for him. The Cassante got solo killed, and as did the Ambessa. Knight threatening with the Glacial Storm. The culling going to force the ult and the untouchable shadow over said crystallized wall. The ghost also burned from Cream, but now Viper gets to step on forward onto Cream, who loses half his HP bar. The Sonic Wave lands onto a minion, but no one else. Forced away. The steal of the Raptors from over the wall.
Oh, it's bad to worse, isn't it? I mean, Shun on the Pantheon is so far up on Tien. Tien's still threatening. It's just that Shun's got so much more gold. It's so much easier for him to make the big plays. One of the big things about a Pantheon over release is the consistency of what you can do. BLG, it has they've locked in for this series. Now, I was a little bit worried that BLG wouldn't come up on good form. That's been blown away here, son. Now, they will face up against anyone's legend for the last match of the regular season. And that'll definitely be one to stay around. Dracula doesn't have it. Or Flash, he's pushed up too far, Sam.
He's got Fungiway behind him, and that will be just about enough.
Yeah, sure, not quite right on the angle there. It was a great timing, though. The timing was great. The execution of the ultimate just a little bit off. Didn't have the ultimate or Flash. Could have technically been interrupted on jump with the wild growth. That potentially could have been another cooldown blown. So a swing and a miss, but nothing huge loss from BLG.
I appreciate the look in. If Fongu had been a little bit further away, I think there would have been a flash, make no mistake about it, from Shun, and we'd be having a very different conversation. Not going to quite happen there. Viper doing the Lucian things, which is just get mid lane prio on Viper. Back in the day with a little player called Mako, was one of the very best Lucians in the world, helped him carry a team to a world championship. Just get hit by the Sonic Wave there, but realistically, even if he gets taken by it, can just jump into the Herald and be kind of fine. So not going to be an option to take that. One of the tier 2 falls here in this mid lane. Knight threatening Jackie Love with the Glacial Storm.
And Tien walking in. Double you got the Blast Cone. It's hit and Tien goes down. Blast Cone kill onto Tien.
Who hit that Blast Cone?
I'm going to have a go look, Sam. I'm going to have a look. You might have to play by play some extra stuff.
Fantastic stuff for Viper. Throws down the culling and picks that one up just fine. Now he's 2-0 towards his other tier 2. BLG not needing the Baron, just continuing to leverage their lane advantage. The Flash Frost is dodged from. The Glacial Storm is under the turret. Knight will back away from the turret shots. Damage somewhat done.
Oh god, so Fungiway put the auto onto the Blast Cone before Tien had flown out. So it's Fungiway that does it before the safeguard comes in. I don't think he needed to auto attack it. Tien is just unfortunate timing there. It's not like he hits it after Tien has flown forwards. We'll watch this again. So I just watched it in slow-mo. Fungiway's auto attack is in the air before Tien safeguards. It's just they don't expect Shun to be there. They want to get rid of that Blast Cone in case there's like a freak play coming through from the Pantheon. I think you typically want to clear up those kind of those blast cones when you're behind. We're just going to change over to the other thing here too. Let's just hope that there's no kills while we're refreshing this. But yeah, it's an unfortunate timing. They didn't expect to find Shun there. The blast cone auto was already in flight. It's just a very unfortunate circumstance.
Baron's up, playing around mid lane. Viper dodges away from the Sonic Wave. Knight's now here as well, trying to clear out some wards where they can at top esports. But again, the wall is so scary. Cream sped up by the Whimsy, needed to be.
Hang on a second there. Viper takes a lot of damage, has to get the breath of life out on him. Culling's not bad on the way back,
Yeah, it's not. That's a lot of healing required. Flash from Bin over the wall. Meganar onto at least one. All the while Zuyan's trying to trade with Viper is losing that 1v1. Can't quite get in range for the autos, but the Ardent Blaze gives vision. Trying to get in range for another charge in as Knight kills off at least the Yunara. The Grand Starfall comes crashing in, and the spear is through the skull of Ambessa. Cream tries to run away, but he's just being used to flavor Knight's coffee. Another wall, another death.
Knight flashes forwards, and Sam, I think the game is about as well as done there. It's not going to be the Nexus, but it will be the Baron. The gold lead is already over 7,000, and top esports have been second best in the fights today. BLG will get themselves that Baron. They might give up a dragon for it, but I don't think they give a rat's about that. BLG can take this one uncontested. Tien is technically alive, but he's nowhere near to make any sort of mess of this. Going through a replay. And you can see initially Cream gets a good trade onto Viper, gets into the W from the Yunara as well, but then the Culling comes through. Great teleport in from Bim. That Meganar is top notch. You don't normally sit onto the mid lane turret like that. And if it just separates out the team, it means that there's no one left to help out Suyan. There's no one else to really who has the HP to really walk forwards in terms of damaging members. Great flash forward onto Jackalope. Grand Starfall afterwards. It's actually the cast of the ult which kills Suyan. That spear is deadly, as you called out. And then the last bit on kill onto Cream. That's the cherry on top.
Picture in picture, we did just see TM pick up the dragon, but I think that's after the Baron's gone down.
Yeah, we called that out,
So that is going to be the trade on that worth noting. But BLG on the hunt into the enemy jungle, looking to pick up some members. Worth noting the Ambassador's not here. Gets a bit spicy in that regard. The Mega Blaze kick that's going to knock Cream away. Blue buff nabbed away, and there's no additional kills, but Viper with the wave being shoved, and already having claimed a lot of these tier 2s or gotten chunks on them, it'll be a BLG with a full court press.
I think there might be a teleport from Suyan. There is one ward very far behind them. I wonder whether top esports do that now. Yeah, there we go. He's going for the teleport behind him. He doesn't have flash. I think they see this. Okay, so there's the Realm Warp. Here comes the fight from top esports.
On top there, the Mega Blaze kick. Viper's dashing away, gets capped alive for a second, but then falls. Nice from top esports. The wall splits people off. Shun's been split away, though. This is going to end the Baron play.
It is. I mean, top esports, they get themselves that long teleport. We saw it coming because we saw the wards behind them. BLG were not ready and prepared for that. The kick goes on to Viper. You can see that Milio was actually stood on the Realm Warp to try and stop the Lee Sin from coming through with that kick. Couldn't quite get it at that point. Knight's going to get the stun over the wall. Actually quite threatening here. The wall doesn't get him, but the Bin might kill him anyway.
He's going to be nearly at the Meganar. Gets kicked in, though, and he's just dead. That's unfortunate. Well, much of an overplay. Didn't need to do that.
So that's now another Baron buff down. Top esports are going to make this a minus 3,000 gold power play. BLG, not a good look.
Picture in picture, though, the minions had just hit the next turret. They took the inhibitor by themselves. In the mid lane, yeah, it was up.
Have they taken the Nexus turret there, though? Typically, if the mid lane inhibitor is down... No, they didn't take the Nexus turret. The minions... Yeah, you're right. They took the inhibitor. I'm surprised at that.
So they took the inhibitor and all that, so there is still some value there, but it's still very unfortunate. BLG, I don't know whether you needed to push it that far at the end. Just let some replays come on, or let some respawns come on through. I get they were trying to punish people overstaying, but in the end, it's just a bit of an overreach. You didn't need to outplay that one there.
Shun has his GA coming back now out onto the map. That's a really good Realm Warp. I mean, BLG didn't quite get the vision control they needed. Viper didn't have flash. You see that On very nearly gets himself a very important play. Fungi Wave Flash Wild Growth is incredibly important, by the way. Flash Polymorph Wild Growth. That is the strongest engage you'll ever see from support Lulu late game. Credit to him. Almost dice rip. That's a really critical play.
Because otherwise, I think Viper gets to glide through that probably. That's the kind of CC chain you needed. So well done with the points of burns. A lot of summoners to do it. Will it change the back end as the Culling comes on the Fungi, leaves him down about half HP. Tien and Zuyan also lose half to a third of their HP bars on top of everything else. And now, despite the Baron power play being somewhat mediocre, it's still BLG in control of the game.
Mediocre is a bit... That's been very kind to BLG.
It's bad.
It is a very bad Baron power play. It went from being, this should be just instant win, to, oh, hang on, this is actually now a door open for top esports. Baron has now fallen off. They will get themselves the top lane outer turret. Inner turret, sorry, rather. Top Esports get a lot of good gold there, Sam. They do. I mean, BLG are still in the lead by 5,000. This is still going to be a very hard game for Top Esports to win, especially if Knight is in position. The problem there for BLG is that, you know, they thought they could safely push in 2 waves for like 10 or 20 seconds longer. They couldn't. They ended up retreating in the bad directions. BLG fall prey to the pincers being slammed shut. 2 minutes till Dragon now. Top Esports, they do have a 3-item Nymaera. They do have a 3-item Protobelt Rise. Oh my god,
It's happened again.
He really wants it for that rune prison, doesn't he? And Top Esports do actually have the damage to turn a fight now.
Rocket Belt might be worth being able to have that to dodge out of a potential wall and stuff sometimes, because the Rise doesn't have a lot of mobility in and of himself. The wards are decent here from Top Esports on the way in. The last TP flank was strong from Top Esports. Managed to finally bring low Viper, who'd been next to impossible to lock down. Took Fongyue full sending his body in to make it happen, but successful. The tier 2 does fall now in the bot lane as well, so BLG reclaimed some of the gold that they lost in that last unfortunate sequence for themselves. Top Esports still not in a great space in this game, but hey, 1,000 gold lead to the Rise, and a few important items for the likes of that Ambessa, that Yunari you called out, and comes the culling, and ow, TN did not enjoy that in the slightest.
No, he didn't. Yeah, culling hurts. He's got an extra Dirk on top of that too now, likely going in towards a Serpent's Fang. It's very good on the Lucian versus the Lulu shields, the Seraphs, the Lee Sin Safeguard, the Repudia. Everyone has shields, basically, folks.
Eclipse as well, yeah.
Everyone, right? So it's actually very useful here. We've seen a bit on the Corki. It's useful on the Lucian, who's very good with lethality. They actually tapped down his lethality builds a long time ago when it was around the mythic item era, where you have like mythic Eclipse or something similar to that, because he would just one-shot you with an Eclipse. Back when he gave him a lot of percent pen and lethality and the like. They made him more crit scaling. That was a very fast bird flying out. Has the Leandries and the Malignants now for double burn. If Nui actually gets his ult down on the melees, this is a very high DPS build from the Onivia. We don't see as much of that. We actually see a little bit more cooldown reduction on her nowadays, but the Onivia with this build does a ton of work, Sam.
Top Esports are going to take the opportunity to say, look, we're not at sole point to worry about the Dragon going down necessarily. We just want ward around this Baron. Giving up the Baron is how we lose the game at this point. Right now, so they aren't contesting that. They've got the wards down, they've got decent ones in the river, and also in spots that are sometimes a little harder to track, though that one across that wall there does get tagged by a good control ward placement. Nice adjustment there in terms of where the control wards are going. You've got one of the Phaelites from just a regular vision ward, but that ward there does catch out some of the attempted sneaky wards that a lot of red side teams put down to avoid vision.
And you say that, but there are still actually a couple of... There's going to be the one ward, I think. Does he get it? No, he doesn't get that last ward on this. But the Scuttle Crab will kill it anyway. Oh, that's a shame. Because actually, that's quite a good ward placement to say, well, your sweeper's not going to capture all of these, surely. They have the Scuttle Crab ward. That's one of the biggest changes to late game objective fighting that we've actually seen in recent years. Basically, the Void Scuttle after Baron spawns, giving that vision control and sweeping is really, really large. It allows you to kind of make your own vision control in a lot of ways. And it's kind of pre-bought that way. Knight going up into the mid lane. Again, those 3 items we already talked about. That TN does have flash. He wants to go for a kick. Quite hard to do that into an Onivia, though. Just throws the Q at you as you fly towards him.
Can be a bit tricky. Wit sends down. Cream needs to Rocket Belt. Doesn't get him out of range, though. And he loses off his HP bar. There's the Seraph's procced as well. And the Crystallize prevents the defense.
Seraph's is a long cooldown, too. That's a pretty good trade there from Viper, who has been the hero of this game for BLG. Right the way from the early game, he has used this magnificently. Can they go in towards the mid inhibitor now? I think they can, actually. Cream's going to back. There is a threat of a Realm Warp coming out of base, so BLG need to be quite respectful of that, especially since they're pushing over enemy territory, which does have good vision control now. They would have to be afraid of someone on the flank like Tsuyan too.
Couple wards still in their own red side jungle is giving some vision, but Bin at this point with the Sterex and the Wit's End's got a lot of tenacity and can start shoving up to potentially threaten an inhibitor turret down this side and say damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Bin on the side lane is a real pain, isn't he? The Wit's End, the Sterex, double tenacity from that. He's just going to keep running at you. The fact that he doesn't need to go for an armor item besides his boots and can go for the Wit's End, even against the Ambessa and the Lee Sin, that shows you how much Bin is respecting the Rise for one, but how much he can really choose to flex his itemization into better damage and better kind of better utility stats. We'll spot the Ambessa pushing out bot lane. We'll clear out that wave in recompense. What can Tien and Suyan do in the next fight?
Okay, lands the Q onto the Onivia, but Knight's pulling away to prevent the easy reactivation. Tien doesn't pull the trigger.
So hard to just do like a dry Lee Sin Q though. Into the Milio Q, into the wall, everything. I mean, even the Pantheon can look for the W, just point and click it mid-flight. It's very hard for him to function. Good wards from top esports. Shun, they know he's in this bush. They might look for the play even though he's got the G8.
Yeah, try and jump onto him. There's the Aegis Assault, the Super Mega Blaze Kick involved. Straight on the other side, Suyan's been hit with the Flash Frost, and he goes down. Viper now gets to potentially look at a flank angle here as well, and the flash over the wall as well. The Grand Starfall culling from another angle. Everywhere you look, it's disaster. The GA is popped probably from both junglers, indeed it is, but one will come out sooner. The Glacial Storm's behind, and it's a cold, cold night for top esports. The wall comes up. The threat of the do your own wall combo is there. The wallet comes down. Cream's got the Sarah. He does bring low that jungler. The Realm Walk behind gets Cream out to safety. Jackie and Cream just about in one piece.
And very lucky to get out with that HP 2. Knight's wall forces, what, 4 flashes over it? Top esports very lucky to get away with just the summoners being burned. Now, Shun dying means that there's no smite on the table, but Tien being dead means that BLG can still go towards the Baron if they so wish. Knight with the Leandries has great Baron DPS. You know, they spot that Shun's in this bush, but this is what we're saying. It's very hard to land the Lee Sin Q, gets the Mega Blaze kick onto him, and on the other side, they walk over their own vision to Cream and Suyan, and it's just a one-shot. I mean, the Onivia is well and truly scaled at this point. Watch this, triple flash over the Jackal of the one person who got clear. Knight trading flash for 3, you'll call that worth any day. Does cost Shun the eventual fight here too. Will they trade jungle for jungle? I wonder if Shun should have just not gone for this, but I guess if you get the kill into Cream, it's probably game over. Very good Zhonya's from Cream, especially making it out from that position. That's a high roll for him.
Picture in picture, there's the egg from Knight as Suyan lands an ultimate, and they bring down the Onivia. That potentially huge man advantage for top esports.
And that's with the Baron still up. Top esports managed to catch out Knight. That's huge. Not only does his KDA dip from that, they're going to have a chance to potentially look towards Dragon or Baron in the next minute. Without that Onivia controlling the team fight, that's a big loss for BLG.
Flash from Zuyan was required, but it does get on top of the Onivia. They can turn towards us for the man advantage. That's the zone control. The control pillar down from BLG.
Okay, but Viper's still alive. A lot of damage there. Tien going to be spotted outside the pit. Baron rather now down to half HP. Top esports will take a Baron flip at this point. They're the ones behind it. Benefits them.
And we're going to try and make that happen, keeping the Baron aggro. There's the rocket belt forwards. Life of life, keep people healed. Bin looking for the Mega Gnar angle. They're all the back of the pit, also very low. Shun's in, smite fight available. Gonna be the flip, but it's won by Tien's Lee Sin. Suyan left low. Mega Gnar in the back of the pit with no one with flashes. Getting scary. Viper's left low. Could do a lot of damage. Needs a double tap away. Tien lands the Sonic Wave, and top esports find everything they could hope for.
Sam, the gold lead is gone. Top esports get a Baron onto everyone on their team. The Mega Gnar from Bin doesn't do what it's meant to in that fight. Can't disrupt well enough for Viper to carry. And Cream gets an incredible amount of damage down. We may be in a case where top esports take that one death onto Shun in top lane inhibitor and turn it into something great. It's a great engagement, Suyan. Just comes out from nowhere. And Knight doesn't have the flash. He traded his 1 for 3 earlier, but he didn't get it onto Suyan. He had his flash able to do that. It's a great play from them. We'll watch what happens with Bin in this fight. The Breath of Light was used to get him out of the rune prison, gets a bit of healing. But what happens to the Mega Gnar after? I feel like it should have done so much more, and he just ends up running away from the pit as Shun goes in. Gnar just not there in position. Miscommunication from Bin and the team.
Now all the gold comes flying on back. They picked up Dragon as well, so soul points there for top esports. Bin finally gets in, but just doesn't get enough done. There was no Mega Gnar use, and look at the damage done in the picture-in-picture. You can see that's 4,500 done by Cream. Not bad from Viper, but of course, that's a big fat 0 for your Onivia, and only 1,600 from the Gnar, who was supposed to be able to do all the work at the back end of that play.
So now it's 3 dragons apiece, even gold in late game, and we have to talk about these compositions on even footing now. Now, if the Onivia is there at the start of the fight, fantastic, great into the melees, but we've got a late game Ambessa, we have a late game Rise. If they start doing damage, BLG might just crack under the DPS of top esports. As we can see, the Lucian not great into the Rise. If Rise is in auto range of Lucian, then he kills him. Lucian needs to play around culling range, and if there's ever an EQ combo onto the AD carry, Viper dies. BLG needs to be so careful. That one death in mid lane onto Knight, that could be crucial. Cream has a huge advantage now, and while Knight does have good items, he wasn't in position to use them there, was he?
No, he wasn't, and that was why BLG, I think, have played a bad game, but the fact that they just managed to have one Baron go wrong and the other also fall apart a little bit. BLG maybe need to know when to give it up. They've never been fantastic at that. It's cost them more gold than I think they're comfortable with. still not exactly out of this game, make no mistake about it. The Baron's still going for 30 seconds. It's a 4,500 Baron power play before they've touched these inner turrets.
So the Onivia doing some good value here. That Leandri's helping with the Malignance in terms of damage from that ultimate. Yeah, Onivia wave clear. It's pretty good, folks. Building onto his next item beyond that point. Bin did have a lead. It's now very, very even. Suyan, an incredible engage from him. Player who got dunked on in that first game. Done a lot better in this one, despite being picked off before. That last play kind of redeems him a little bit. Now, top esports, job's not done. Still very hard to play the Lee Sin late game. Still very hard to play against the Onivia late game. BLG, though, are they rattled? They've lost a huge lead here. They've thrown some big leads before. They've gotten better and not completely capitulating when things go wrong, but it's still not great to see this, Sam.
Yeah, and again, just not been that happy with Bin and Knight this game. There's been some good moments, but it's not been the level of excellence I expect from either player.
Yeah, and, you know, Viper, largely a very good game, and I don't really think it's Viper who's been making the mistakes, although you could argue that BLG are not playing through him very well, although, I mean, he did get some great chunks out earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Individual errors, and you have to just say, look, Top East was very good at punishing. It's not just, oh, BLG throwing. Top East was find the opportunities. The stopping of that Baron push with that deep teleport, great from Top East. Was that pick in mid lane, very few teams could pull that off consistently. Suyan, great play from him. And of course, the Baron fight itself, harder to play out than you think when you're still against that gold lead at that point in time, even in the 5v4. Top East was real credit to them. Over the last week or two, they haven't been looking good. This has been some very solid late-game opportunistic playmaking from them.
Yeah, and good wards to allow that to happen that BLG haven't quite caught all the time. They're sat on one right now, actually, a little bit problematic. Shin need to be a little bit afraid of that. Late game Lee Sin, bit of a weird one. It's TN's Lee Sin, been having a much better showing on it than the last time out. But we'll need to find the angle. They've got to have an idea.
Shin is on a ward there. Culling pulls out. Not bad damage. Takes the heal away from them. But the Culling is a big threat now that cooldown is down. Shin knows he was seen. Knight is hanging off to the side. I think he realizes, look, I've got the 4 I've got the Proto Belt for the extra mobility too, which makes a lot of difference. Bin out onto the map, level 20.
Again, the other thing is we're a bit afraid for the side of Top Esports. Your base is somewhat broken, a bad fight, and it all goes very wrong. Minute till the Dragon. In vision, Bin gets tagged. Damage onto Foggy. He's dead! Viper got him in the extended range. Now shunned in the back ladder to a Jackal, but needs to back away. But there's no Enchanter. Chien kicks Viper away to try and drop the damage. Bin finally finds the Mega Knight he's been looking for all game. Suyan tries to get to the wave in desperation, but the Guardian Angel is procced and the feathers and the wings are torn off. Right back down to earth you go.
Viper gets to be the main character this game. A wonderful Lucian game for one of the greatest to ever do it. Last time he was in the LPL in 21, you might remember the Viper Mako Lucian Nami days. He taught the world how to play it back then, and in this game, he's showing back old school on it. Great game from Viper as BLG close out a nervy game too.
The best team in the world, in the #1 region in the world, will absolutely command the first place in the LPL regular season, except no substitutes.
BLG, perhaps their downfall was a little bit overspoken